That's right, it's a surprise stream. I thought I'd overwhelm you. Some of my streams are underwhelming. This one's overwhelming. Combine them together, you know what you get? Whelmed. That's what you get. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to everyone. How's everyone doing today? The plan, very simple. Path of Exile 2. We're having some reveals for it later on. I love Path of Exile. I think it's great. I'm not the greatest Path of Exile player in the world. I've got a lot to learn. There are many content creators who have made some phenomenally good guides that I've been following for a long time. But I like to think I've got a pretty solid working relationship with Grinding Gear Games. And I've been able to work with them on Path of Exile 1, on a couple of the expansions, a couple of the leagues. So when they messaged me and said, hey Josh, hey, we would love you to be able to co-stream the Path of Exile 2 Reveal stream later on. So here's the plan. I'm going to play for a bit. Plan in general is just... Oh no, he's dead now. Now we get to smack this dude around. I'm going to try and, if I can, speed run to... I want to say Act 2 and try and get Righteous Fury. I might not be able to get Righteous Fury, but if I can, I mean, that'd be great, if possible. I don't know if it's going to be something I can make happen, but we'll see if we can speed run it to Act 2 to get Righteous Fury, because it's so easy to do a Righteous Fury build and chat to you guys at the same time. I've not played Marauder in ages, so just bear with me. Bear with me on this one. Oh, who's managed to see some of the Magic the Gathering adverts? Oh, we had to talk to Wizards of the Coast a lot to get that approved. We really did. They, Wizards were not receptive to the idea when I first ran it into them. I'm like, hey, I've got an idea. We should make this really dumb, silly advert. And they were like, no, Josh, you have no idea. As a contrast, when I say to Grinding Gear Games, hey, I've got an idea, they're like, we're on it, we agree, straight away. No cat on the screen, I'm sorry, we can put it there next time. But how is everyone doing today? Are we having a good time? There was a period of my life, maybe about 6 months ago, where you might have noticed videos were produced a lot slower. And Path of Exile is entirely the reason for that. Just so you know. Like there was a moment where someone said, hey Josh, you're only putting out like one video a month, one video every 3 weeks. I got really into Path of Exile for a bit. Like I was fully into this. I had multiple builds on multiple different characters, doing multiple things. We'd gone all the way through. We'd killed Kitava several times. I'd managed to get a defensive build that just stood there and did retaliation damage. It was great. I had a really good time. But I also understand that that's not consistent. Now, what we have got now, I went full degen for like 2 months. It was brilliant. Now, what we've got now is I've got 3 massive videos that I'm working on. I've just realized this mug is green. I've got 3 massive videos that I'm working on right now that are going to be out within the next, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks. I know it's been 3 months on the main channel without an MMORPG video, but please believe me when I say that I've been putting 2 months into doing a video. I have got, and I want this to be out within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I have made a ranking video. Oh, the realm is restarting. Oh no. I've made a ranking video of 250 MMORPGs. The top 250 with science. I've actually used objective science to work out. So when someone says, hey, is this game better than this game? We can now objectively say whether it is or isn't. 250 MMORPGs, including some games that aren't even on Wikipedia. I've gathered this data from watching every single top 10 MMO video I could find over the last 20 years. And reading every article I can find, listing the best MMORPG games of any given year. Any given month within any given year. And please believe me when I say it has taken me absolutely gosh darn ages to do. But it will be, I have no doubt, it will be the ranking video. There are very, very few ranking videos that will contain more games. Now I do give a shout out at the start of the video to channels that have come before me. Channels that, you know, without those channels existing, I wouldn't have been able to make anything. I've effectively conglomerated all of the data that we have available into one big, massive list. And it took some time to make. So just bear with me while I make that. For now, bear with me while I smack some crabs around the place. I want to rush to Act 2 if I can and try and get the Righteous Fire. And then we can be Righteous Firing this all the way. That's the plan. Just run. Yeah, I'm going to aggregate all of the aggregations. That's the plan. Full-on aggregate of the aggregations. And then we have an objective list of what the best one is. It is neither Saturday at 7 nor Sunday at 4. I thought I'd just go crazy. I'd go wild with it. Big fan of your work. I like your worst MMO ever series. Do I have plans to cover Ragnarok online? I'm going to say something to you that you're going to hear a lot over the next couple of years if you continue to watch my content or be on Twitch. It's on the list. When I say it's on the list, what I effectively mean is, if I haven't yet played it, I will. So please understand, it's on the list. Might take a while to get there, but trust me, it's on the list. Right, what are we doing? I think we probably want to go with armor and life to max out. We're going for a Righteous Fire build. Because of a Righteous Fire build, we're going to regenerate life. Yeah, because regenerate the Righteous Fire does damage to us, doesn't it? So we'll go with full-on regen. That's what we need. How have I been? I've been good. It does say Daggerfall time. That's wrong. We can get rid of that. We can fully get rid of that. I'm going to go this way to get to the Warrior's Blood regen. That's the plan. I'll apply the points going this way. It does indeed say Daggerfall time. I can take that off the screen. Beautiful. There we go. Are Dopus and Wakfu on the list? Yes, they are. It's on the list. I guarantee it's on the list. Will I be going full degen on Path of Exile 2? I've already been messaging Try, a big Path of Exile 2 streamer, because I'd say we're friends now. And I've already said to him, hey man, when this game comes out, we're playing it, right? And he's like, yeah, we are. My videos got you through night shifts, third shift, gas station attendant. I've done night shifts before, man. I know they suck. Hopefully the pay's decent for you. I know that when it was me doing night shift, I never really particularly enjoyed it, but the pay was slightly more, which I quite liked. What are we going to go with? We're going to go with Ground Slam, just because then, yeah, we take Ground Slam. I can use that easier, and I can switch that to be Ground Slam instead. And now we just push our way through. Try and rush to Act 2 if we possibly can. My stream is getting you through the shift now. Well, here's the plan. I'm going to play Path of Exile 1 for a little bit, just to, you know, pass some time, kill some time, so I love playing this game. Then we're going to co-stream and co-watch the Path of Exile 2 Reveal stream. They've got more details about the game. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with it. Very excited to see it. Oh, that's it. It's always that bit that you die at, isn't it? There's the dude with the fire. I remember this bit of the game. This is normally everyone's first death. Not today. Not today, Flame Boy. I was worried. I was very worried for a moment. I forgot this is like everyone's first wipe, isn't it? This is meant to teach new players, yeah, you're gonna die. Can I raise the game audio? Yeah, I can. There you go, game audio is raised for you slightly. They're restarting the realm for patch notes in about 10 minutes, so when that happens, we'll have to talk to each other. The first death is normally the witch, isn't it? Is the witch on this area, or is the witch the next map? I want to say it's the next map. Okay, I don't want Ground Slam. What was it Heavy Strike? I'm trying to work out what's... Okay, so Heavy Strike is single target. I probably want Ground Slam for that. I do need some more... Oh, hang on, is that the League mechanic? There's a saying in Path of Exile, always interact with the League mechanic at level 1. Always. Nothing bad ever happens if you interact with the new League mechanic at level 1. Nothing. I can't think of a single League where it's a bad idea to interact with... I mean, we all enjoyed the Evil Forest, didn't we? Let's just... I'll just pick up some gold. It's interesting. So that's not what I'm used to. Just picked up some gold there. And there's a chance of getting a mirror. It's not a big... Well, there we go. What's this? Crimson Iron. Interact to begin the encounter. This cannot go wrong in any way. Clear the area. Alright, we got it. League mechanic time. And I've got one potion. One mana potion. We're just tanking damage here. I should probably be killing whatever this is. Gold is for town management. Ah, I gotcha. Okay. We Age of Empires now. We'll just be slamming this down. Oh, this is easy. This is fine. I've got this. I don't know what everyone was complaining about. Put it this way, I've got so few potions that I should probably be... I can't even equip one that's level 3. Oh no, I can't equip the level 3 potion I just picked up. We might be in trouble here, guys. Oh, level 3! Boom, son! You know what that means? That means potion time! Oh, we're good. All I have to do now is refill it by killing enough things. I really, really, really need a mana potion. I can't read chat right now because I'm hyper-focused. It's a good thing I picked up Ground Slam as my first attack. This proves that all you need is stick to do this. Path of Exile is a game of sticks. Oh, done! Done! Okay, we actually did it. I didn't expect that to happen, but we survived the first encounter. I've got to find a way to King's March now. I don't need to. I do not need to. Maximum life, increased armor. Yep, we're going with that. Because we're going for a Righteous Fire build. And a Righteous Fire build hurts us, so we need huge amounts of regen to counteract the damage we're doing to ourselves. That's the Chad Righteous Fire build. You can't kill me if I kill me first. That's the energy we're bringing to this. I refuse to die to enemies. I will only die to me. There's a chance you can find Righteous Fire before Act 2. I mean, there's a chance you find anything before Act 2, really, but it's very low. It's very, very low. I just love how no one uses Righteous Fire for the intended purpose. Oh no, all you do is stick it on, do damage to yourself, and run through the enemies. That's it. That's all you need to do. What about falling to gravity? We're not going to die to gravity here. I'm very good at parkour. Excellent. I cannot remember the fastest way to get... Oh, we don't... The mudflats is... You don't need to do the mudflats, do you? The mudflats is like an optional area that you can do if you want to. Or, no, I'm thinking of the fetid pool, aren't I? What's the area that's optional? The mudflats might be the non-optional area. What about accidentally closing Path of Exile and then opening D4? I'm D4 bad. We all know this. We've been raised by the sacred texts. I'm glad that sometimes when I'm doing work, actually working and making videos and editing and putting effort in, I'll get a message from Grinding Gear Games being like, "Hey Josh, we're really sorry to inconvenience you, but would you like to play our games on stream?" And I'm just sat there thinking, how dare you? I was working. I was in the flow state. Progress was being made. I was about... You're putting videos back weeks, guys. You really are. I don't think they quite understand how... Was that Quicksilver Flask already? Oh, it's level 4, goddammit. But okay, cool. That's going to go on 3 and that's going to go on... I can't even put it on yet. I don't think Path of Exile understand exactly how much damage they're doing to the production of videos when they tell me that they need me to play games. I cry every time. Every time. Will I play Ashes of Creation when it comes out? Trick question. If it comes out, maybe. I have a lot of stuff to do. A lot of games to get through. I mean, if it comes out, sure, we'll see what happens first. Thank God I'm online. Today was your first day as a teacher. It was stressful. I'm so glad you're on. Look, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Being a teacher, stressful job. Reason I don't do it anymore. Straight up reason. It just... I feel that discipline in schools has gone down a lot. This was meant to be a Path of Exile stream. I was meant to be playing a fun game for a bit, and straight away you just come on, you're like, Josh, tell us legends about the teaching time. No, this was meant to be a fun little stream. Fun little enjoyable stream. Evasion and energy or armor? What are we going with? I think let's go with you. And then just drop these. I don't need these. Don't need a bow. Bows are for cowards. Goat hide buckler. Movement. Increases movement speed. That's probably worth doing just in the early game. In the early game, you very much want to kind of push through to the movement speed if you can. This is how I know that I'm good at the game. I'm willingly throwing away equipment. I would never do that when I first started playing this game. That was sacrilege. That was illegal. Which MMO do I think has the best story? That's a good question. I would probably say Final Fantasy XIV. Let's be fair. There are many games that can be great without story. I know people who've got max capes in RuneScape who don't even know that RuneScape has a story. I didn't know that Path of Exile had a story for the longest time. I was just thought it was a fun game where you just kill things. And then when I was talking to some of the people that worked there, and they were like, so what do you think of the story? I'm like, what story? Then I sat down and read the wiki, and suddenly I'm like, oh, this is badass. This is really cool. Yeah, this is really good. The whole gods, Kitava, the exiles, the ideas, the making of a second god. That's badass. Star Wars The Old Republic gets a bit of a free pass because it is Star Wars. Increased maximum armor, increased maximum life. We want to go for that one. Alright, we're 2 minutes away from being kicked off the server. And then we'll obviously just come straight back on. That's the plan. Kick off back on. EVE Online has good lore. Is there a difference between story and lore? That's a question. Can you have good story, but bad lore? Can you have good lore, but bad story? Look, I understand it's Friday. I get it's Friday. Unfortunately, Path of Exile 2 stuff happened. And I had to slap this giant bloom thing with a stick. This is where we are now. Don't question this. This is what we're doing. Lore is opt-in. Story is... That's a good way of putting it. Did Destiny 2 have a story? I didn't actually play enough Destiny 2 to know. Oh, it's so wrong seeing gold on the floor. It feels illegal. It really do feel illegal. The realm is restarting in 1 minute. Downtime will be 15 minutes. What do we do now? Okay. 1 minute restart, 15-minute downtime. Here's the plan. And don't worry, there is a plan. The plan is going to have to be this. We're going to sit and chat, really, aren't we? I can't think of anything else to do. We'll sit and chat. Hang on, let me just turn the... Let me log off with this. I will... It's kind of annoying that you can't just return to town from the escape menu, because that's what we're all going to do anyway. So I'm going to exit character selection. We've got 15-minute downtime. I'm going to put a timer on the screen, and then we're going to chat for 15 minutes. That's our plan. But you know what? We can chat. I can remove the void. We could always speedrun the bouncer. Ooh, okay. Hang on. I might have thought of a solution here. We might have an idea. So here's the plan. Welcome to reality. This is how it looks. I'm sorry. Some of you I know had an immersion thing going on there. Let's just go to the webcam. That's the webcam right there. Let's just take all the filters off. So no more chroma key. Beautiful. Now everything's there. Perfect. And now what we can even do is we can reset the transform for it. And just welcome. Now we can chat. Let's talk. Let's vibe. That's what we need to do. Just chat about whatever you want to chat about, really. What's on your mind? What's on everyone's mind? My face looks overexposed. It is. It is. The ring light up there. Way too bright. Far too bright. Beard's too long as well. Need a haircut. This is what happens when you just stay in editing videos all day. You begin to neglect. Am I related to Henry Cavill? No, I'm who turns up if you order Henry Cavill from Temu. When the Amazon price looks a little bit too reasonable, when you're thinking, I can get Henry Cavill at my birthday party for only 50 quid. That sounds fantastic. And then as soon as that happens, I turn up. If you've never been to the stream before, let me explain exactly who I am. I'm the guy who you see in the distance and go, thinking it's Henry Cavill, then I get a bit closer and you go, oh. That's the vibe that I bring. That's the energy that I'm bringing to these streams right now. Can we log back in? God damn it, I can't log in already. Oh, Path of Exile, come on. Okay, it's 1 hour. 1 hour until the Path of Exile 2 reveal. Then we'll be doing that. That's the actual thing. That's what we're here for. That's the focus. But until then, we wait. Is this a safe space for me to say that I am unaware of who you are? But I will state a thirst. Dorian Gray, did you expect me to read out your entire comment? That's just... We've connected now. You're here. You're part of this. Sorry if you didn't want to get involved. But this is a participatory stream, and you are involved now. You can stay. That's absolutely fine. Plenty of time to create a new character in Daggerfall. I will be creating a new character in Daggerfall. That's the plan. The plan is our original a character in Daggerfall, the meme character, Meowcom Reynolds. She died because if you weren't here for the Daggerfall stream, Daggerfall is a brutal game. We got poisoned in a dungeon. And then I didn't have any anti-poison, and the nearest town was so far away that if I ran there, I would die of poison. That's what it was. So I'd I'd quick saved after getting poisoned. So I'd actually managed to, I think I'd soft-locked myself into a death loop. How many teaspoons of sugar do I have in my tea? Good question. Used to be 2, now it's 2 sweeteners. Trying to be healthy. Trying to cut down them calories. Went a little too hard in the Halloween candy. That's what happened. Bought entire bags, bought entire buckets for people to come to the house, and then realized that if I just turn the lights off, no one comes to the house. Then I've just got buckets of Halloween candy to deal with, and I mean, I'm not going to throw it away, am I? And then after like 3 or 4 days of that, I'm sat there thinking, whew, that was a lot of calories in one go. Yeah. So now, unfortunately, I'm on a bit of a low-calorie diet. Pull off some of the... you've got your summer fling and your winter cling. That's what you've got. So, caught myself walking past a mirror yesterday and I'm like, whoof, you need to stop. So I'm not fat yet, but if I keep going on this path, I'll get there. I know I'll get there. Does the UK have a Thanksgiving equivalent? So I'll share something with all of my American brothers out there. The UK doesn't actually know what Thanksgiving is. No one is willing to admit that. But we've got no clue what it is. No UK child has ever actually drawn one of those weird turkeys that you do where I've seen it in films and I've seen it on the TV show. You know, there's kind of, you do a weird turkey thing, you put your hand on a piece of paper and you spray paint onto it, or you draw around it and you paint it and you're like, turkey. Why? What's going on there? I've got no idea. Literally no clue. No idea at all. Let's just see how close we are to... Oh, okay. Right. Guys, you know what we could do? You know what we could do? Check this out. You ready? Here we go. This could be the main thing. Oh yeah. It's live. The Path of Exile Twitch stream is live. This is the broadcast we're going to be watching. So here's the plan. I'm not done with Daggerfall. I died. I'll be making a new character. We'll be doing it again. So the plan today is this. Play some Path of Exile as soon as I can actually log back in. I can't log in yet because the servers are still down. Then I'm going to what's called co-stream the official Path of Exile Reveal stream, which is where you and I will watch that stream via this stream. Why? Because then more eyes watch Path of Exile too. It's a marketing thing. But I also happen to really like the game, and I want it to be good. That's the plan. How about watching the countdown for 55 minutes? We could play the bouncer 3 times. It could be bouncing time. I am becoming a reactor. What is my game of the year? I'll be real with you guys. I don't think I've actually played any games that have released this year. You want to see how far behind I am in games? How far behind I am? That is the Baldur's Gate 3 Collector's Box. I have not installed it. I haven't even opened it. I mean, I've got the model out, but apart from that, everything else is just in there. I haven't played it. I'm so behind on games. You want to know how behind on culture I am? Someone asked me what the last film I saw in the cinema was. I said The Avengers. They were like, oh man, yeah, Endgame was a great film. I said, no, The Avengers won. That's how behind I am on culture. I stopped caring after that film. They all got together, and no one telling Baldur's Gate 3 wasn't even this year. Like, I don't know. Finding it hard to decide between who to watch co-stream between me and Quinn. Trick question. You got to find someone reacting to both me and Quinn at the same time. That's what you got to do. There's got to be another third stream that has both Quinn and I on their channel, and they're commenting over that, and we're commenting over the other one. Yeah, that's what you have to do. So I'm so behind on culture. I'm sorry, I'm so behind. So what is my game of the year? I don't know, Soul Reaver? It's not come out yet, but I'm sure it will be good. Croc is being re-released. Soul Reaver's being re-released. What else? I'm sure there's a couple of other games that are being re-released. I almost said one then that I'm working on that I'm not allowed to say. But yeah. Switch me to PoE2 directory or drops don't work. That's a good question. Good point. I'll do that now. Let me sort that out for you. See? I will switch. I think I am 99% sure that the drops are activated on this channel. I will double check with them, but I am pretty sure. Let me switch. I don't think it's specific channels only. I think it's you just have to be in any stream that's in that channel. Alright, Path of Exile 2. We've updated. We should be good. Drop should be all ready. I didn't even play Space Marine 2. I've not even finished Space Marine 1. I'm sorry, but you have to understand that once you start to actually have to create content about older video games, you very much have to make a decision that you are not going to be engaging or involved with newer video games. I just aren't. Sometimes I ask myself, do I even play games? I even know. Do I actually play video games anymore? I'm not sure. But it's one of those questions where if I want to review an old game, I've got to dedicate 50 or 60 hours to playing it, and then I've got to dedicate 10 hours to writing the script and editing it together and then release it and then go straight on to the next game. If people love me reviewing old RPGs, and one of the next videos that I'm making is a full 2-hour review of Dragon Age Origins, because I think it's quite a good game. But Dragon Age Origins is a 60-hour game. So in order to play a 60-hour game, I'm dedicating 60 hours worth of gameplay to it, but then I'm playing slowly because I'm taking notes, then I turn those notes into a script. It's a case of I can, without a doubt, just play a load of modern games, but I wouldn't be giving them all the time they deserved to really kind of analyze them, to really interrogate what makes them good or not. You can either stay on the cutting edge in a very shallow way, or you can dive into the depths and the complexities of something, understanding that you're going to have to sacrifice time somewhere else. And I have chosen to sacrifice time I don't even try and keep up with games anymore. I'm bored of hype. I'm excited about Path of Exile 2 because I think it's going to be a good game, because I've seen them make a good game. PoE2 has done one thing that so many people message me they haven't done. I get messages almost every day from someone saying, hey, I'm making a game. I get messages all the time. Hey, I'm making a game. Can you hype it up? Can you advertise it? And I ask them one question. Have you made a game before? And almost all the time the answer is no. And I say, okay, make something. When you've made something, we can build on it. Make something small. Make something simple. Make something easy. Show me where your priorities lie. The reason I'm excited about Path of Exile 2 is simply because Path of Exile 1 exists. They have a foundation. They have an idea. They have the skills, they have the talent, they have the resources, they have the infrastructure, they have the focus. So when they messaged me and said, hey, we're making PoE2, it's going to be bigger, it's going to be better, it's going to be badder. I'm like, okay, now I'm interested. Because you've got the foundation. You've done the first thing I would tell anyone to do, which is make something. That's why I'm excited. That's why I'm looking forward to it. I want to say thanks. Your Otherland series helped. Oh, Otherland. I miss that so much. Apparently someone is trying to keep a private server going online, I think, called Another Land. And they've got the file somewhere. I just hope, if anyone's seen the Otherland series they did on YouTube, I just really hope that the graphics don't get lost. I hope that the physical levels exist somewhere. The writing, the story, the idea, the weapons. Because the level design was amazing. I do, thank you. I agree. I think that was one of the best things I've ever made. Because I really enjoyed it. I loved doing it. It was something that no one else was doing at the time. The next video that I'm working on, the ultimate MMORPG ranking list, I think will be another one of the best projects I've ever worked on. Because I'm very proud of it, and it's taken me about 2 months so far to even get close to being able to put it out. This is going to be the ranking list. 250 MMORPGs objectively ordered. Put it this way. I'm having to buy a printer. That printer down there is broken. I'm having to buy a printer to be able to print off a 45-page spreadsheet that I made with all of the data that I have correlated to make the next video. And the reason I have to do that is because there is so much data, Google Sheets can't zoom out enough to show it all in one screen. The only way I can physically show... Why does it blink? Because it's trying its best, but it's also dying. The only way that I can physically show the amount of data is by printing it off and holding it up. 45 A4 pages. The reason that printer has died was because I bought some ink cartridges for it, put it in, and it went, "These aren't official ink cartridges." And I went, "No, obviously they're not. You're charging me an arm and a leg for official ink cartridges. I'm going to buy the close-looking ones on Amazon." And then it kind of looked back at me and they're like, "Well, we can't print with non-official ink cartridges." I'm like, why? Why can't you do that? It's ink. It's the same thing. You don't have a monopoly on ink cartridges. And so I will leave you there, alive, but not doing your job. And when I go to Costco and buy a better printer, I will put it next to you, and that will print. But I will not turn you off. I will leave you on and let you watch a better printer doing your job. And you can think about whether you actually do need cyan to print text. You don't. It will learn a lesson. That's what it will do. It will learn a lesson. You know how to bypass that. I've already taken them out and put them back in. I've tried. What did I join to? You joined into printer... I was going to say printer cuckoldry, but that's not... It's not there yet. Right now it's just shouting at a printer. That's what it is. I'm sorry. It's just shouting at a printer. Okay, I refrained. Thank you. Ink piracy. You know, ink, drop for drop, is worth more than human blood. It's a random fact, I know, from my time on this earth. It is. I don't like the fact that I know that fact, but apparently it is. Where do you buy human blood? I don't know. Hospitals? Why don't we just print with blood then? That's a very good point. Okay, I know it was a joke, but let's sit down and discuss the business impositions of this. This could work. I cannot find anyone reacting to you, reacting to Quinn, or reacting to PoE2. You do it. There's a gap in the market, you could fill it. If you can't decide which Path of Exile 2 reaction stream to watch, bring them all up on multiple windows, make sure I'm on the second monitor, that's the law, then just watch them all at the same time. Just do it. And I've got to be real, the actual chat is going fast. I mean, have you seen? Look at the speed of that actual chat, my god. 45 minutes, that means that the original Path of Exile should be back up in a second, and I can see if I can speed run getting to... that was bad. Did you see that? There was a flicker. There's someone on the couch. They're sat there. That was a sneak peek. I mean, it says starting soon. I was told that I would not need to be here until roughly 8 o'clock. But... if we're going to get a sneak peek, I've got to put the green screen back up. I've got to put the green screen back up and see what's going on with this. Until then, we're just going to sit here and wait. Let's just see if I can log back in. Of course I can't log back in. Why would I be able to log back in? Oh, right. Come on. Let me back into the game. Let me back in, Steam. This is that meme of me grabbing the gate and shaking it back and forth, shouting, let me in. It's 8:15. I'm living in the past. It's not 8:15. It's 7:15. All time is based on UK time. You know that. All time. The PoE site is down. The site is down. That doesn't sound very skibbity-riz. That's not very righteous fire of them, is it? But I've explained this to you before. England invented time. We did. There's a line in England called GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. Everything from there was time. The world didn't have time. No one knew what was going on. And then England was like, this is a little bit silly, lads. We all need to work out what's going on. And so we did work out what's going on, and then everyone had time. And if I remember correctly, that happened in 94. Before that, everything was just a bit crazy. No one knew what was going on before that. So, we have 43 minutes to wait until the Path of Exile 2 reveal happens. I'm going to get the Path of Exile 1 game up pretty soon. It's downloading a 4 GB patch right now. Drops should be on. If they aren't, make sure you go to the PoE2 thing anyway, just to make sure you get them. And now we just get to chat for a bit. We get to, like, kind of back and forth. A little bit of a chat. What's up with you? I'll do like an agony aunt style column. I'll answer your questions. I'll solve your life problems. Unless they're a bit too... Is that a printer on your floor? Yeah, it knows what it did. It can sit there and think about what it's done. It told me that it needs cyan to print. No, it doesn't. And then it told me that it doesn't recognize the cartridge. It should do. It's just a knockoff cartridge from Amazon. It should do. Second monitor printer. I want to say thank you so much. A couple of months ago, I asked you for advice on what to stream. I was asking about the girlfriend. I applied your advice, and then she broke up. But out of nowhere this Tuesday, she texted me saying she realized what I said and wants to work on the relationship. Excellent. There we go. Fantastic progress. I swear to God, 99% of problems could be answered with have an honest conversation with the other person. I, unfortunately, go on Reddit from time to time, and almost all of those, relationship advice things. Am I the asshole? Is this wrong? What am I doing? Almost all of them could be answered with the very simple response, have an honest and frank conversation with the other person where neither of you are trying to trick the other. It's not a difficult thing to do. What is the giant potato on the shelf? That is a salt lamp up there. That is a salt lamp, and that taught me discipline, because from the day I bought that salt lamp, I have wanted to lick it, and I have not. I've never done it. Not yet. I'm not going to. Discipline is a muscle. No matter what you say, discipline is a muscle. It must be trained. You have a limited amount of willpower in the day. And it takes me willpower to sit here working on whatever videos that I want to work on, knowing that I could just lick the salt lamp. But I don't do that. 10 subs if I lick it. No, you won't get through to me. I am a stronger man than that. I mean, everything else, we can talk through all the stuff that's in this room currently. There's a salt lamp. That's about it, really. That's the only thing. Over here, we have all of the Warhammer stuff with all of the RuneScape little plushies that they made from Makership. They were pretty cool. And we've got all the Warhammer stuff up there as well. All the Magic the Gathering stuff. I need to get some Path of Exile stuff. I need to ask the Path of Exile guys to send me some cool stuff. What's my favorite thing? That's a good question. I'll think about that. And get back to you. I have a lot of things. Did I pilfer everything from the UK Games Expo? So what happened was when I go to these places, my British kicks in and I just take things. And then I put them in my house, and I've legally classified my house as a museum, which means I'm allowed to do that. That's what it is. Because if you don't do that, you're not allowed to do that. But if you classify your house as a museum, see? Loophole. A little bit of a loophole right there. Because I don't know if you've been to the British Museum, a lot of stuff in there that was not British. Not British at all. Very, very, very not British. Right, 39 minutes until we have the thing, which means I can jump back on my Strife Fire build. Don't laugh, I'm running out of names. So until that, we can just hop back on, and this is the plan for a little bit. Cool, I'm just going to play this for a while. You don't get the room anymore. You get the green screen again. I'm sorry, but that's what you get now. Say goodbye to reality. Farewell, reality. We loved you while you were here. And suddenly it was gone. No more reality. The green is the new reality. Just leave it halfway up. You crazy kids, you. What is this? What is this bit of hair doing? Look at it. Thinks it's special. Thinks it's just doing its own. It thinks it's important enough to... I've made a haircut, wow. It thinks it's important enough to pull away from the rest of the hair. You know what? Okay, that's fine. That can stay there. I allow that. That can stay. It's earned my respect. Let's go with filters and let's put the chroma key back on. It's perfect. Here we go. I now only exist in cyberspace. I'm now inside Rayclast. Right, what was I doing? Don't remember. Let's go this way. Let's quick double check. 38 minutes until the stream starts, and then we'll jump over to the stream. Until then, I'm going to go and smack things with my giant club. Oh, you can't teleport to the thing, can you? Because I haven't unlocked the bloody waypoint. Oh, life is hard. So let's just run around and slap things with the club for a bit. Half an hour. Talk amongst yourselves for a bit. I've got smacking to be done. All roads ultimately lead to Unga Bunga. I try as hard as I can to make new builds, and no matter how much I try, ultimately, I just end up ungering to the bungering. I wish I didn't. There's a new section on the account page on the PoE website that states if you have early access or not. I have not checked. I don't even think I have time to play the early access. I would love to, but I am scared. I know for a fact the moment... No, let's go into the fetid pool, otherwise you don't get levels. I know for a fact the moment I spend too much time in the early access, you'll just say goodbye to the videos. They won't be happening anymore. I've got so much more stuff to do first. Daggerfall's got to be finished and played. There's a load of stuff that we need to do before that. Why am I streaming? It's Thursday, because Path of Exile 2 has new stuff coming out, and I care about it, and I want to know about it. Evasion, for cowards. Armor, yes. Do we have a new stick? Oh, unidentified. Where are my scrolls? Where are my identify scrolls? There they are. Can we just... 104 to accuracy rating. I'll take it. Oh my god. And then we'll go with you and you. I know that I don't really need to bother upgrading anything until later. I should probably keep the shield on actually, because the shield does have a... The shield has a speed boost, 3% increased movement speed. That's not enough. I don't care about that. Increased armor, maximum life, regenerate. Regenerate life, yes. We're going for a full-on regen build, and then I'm going to go with Righteous Fire. That's my plan. How much have I played Path of Exile 1 in the past? That's a good question. Steam tells you, doesn't it? And this is just on Steam. This is not even with... Okay, so Steam tells me 350 hours, but that's just Steam. That's not including the actual launcher that I had for a while, many years ago, before I picked it up on stream. Oh, sweet. Double strike straight away. That could be a useful thing. So, that's not that many hours compared to a lot of people. I get that. It's enough hours to understand that I like the game. They are... Have you ever thought about how weird it is to say to someone, hey, I've done this for 350 hours, and they go, pathetic. It's barely any time at all. Absolutely useless. Because that's actually quite a lot of time to do something for. I mean, 3,000 hours, of course, would be more up everyone's alley. I understand that's where you need to actually get to be taken seriously. But 300 hours I mean, how many times could you watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy in that much time? I judge all time in how many times I could watch the Lord of the Rings. That's how I judge it. When someone says to me, you know, how many times done this, could I watch Lord of the Rings 3 or 4 times? That's how you should start to judge. Extended version or not? Of course extended. Is there another version? Is there another version of Lord of the Rings that I've not been told about? Let us just unga the bunga with this guy. You'll see now that my regen is really kicking in here. You need to watch the extended versions, you really do. They're good one, they're good choices. Unidentified chest plate. Don't. Am I taking damage still? I am from something. Hang on. Slap you away. Throw these things away. There's a new chest plate there that I think is better. What I've currently got. Ooh, reflects 1 damage to melee attackers. Hell yeah. I can't wear it because I'm not the right level. If you have to grind more than 12 hours in a game, you can put the Lord of the Rings on. Yes, you can. See, what I think is that casual players get intimidated when hardcore players say what they expect. And hardcore players forget that while it's very easy to put 3,000 hours into something if it's your only hobby, if you have 5 or 6 other hobbies, you need to spread time out between all of them. Remember that you want to be going to the gym, you want to be eating healthy, you want to be seeing your friends and family, you want to be doing other stuff, you want to be reading, you want to be walking, exercising, going to work, playing other games. There are doing sports, doing any kind of group activities. There are so many things that you need to try and fit into a balanced life that you have to work out what's going to take your time up. Elitism is bad. Gatekeeping is very bad. Like I say, I keep the gates in the best possible way where they swing open nice and easily, let people in and out when they want to. But when you say, hey, I've put 3,000 hours into this, great. Have you put that much time into other stuff? Because if you haven't, you have prioritized one thing over another, which is absolutely fine. You can do that, but you can't expect everyone to do that. You cannot expect everyone to make your hobby their main hobby. You're supposed to be doing all of those things. That's what you're supposed to be doing. And if you're not doing all of those things, work out how. I actually quite like this mechanic. Work out how you can make them all balance together. And that's the biggest, most common conversation that I have with effectively anyone when they always say, oh, you've not put as many hours in as I have. Okay. I've probably not put as many hours into the gym as a full-time bodybuilder. I've probably, and you've probably not put as many hours into rock climbing as a professional rock climber. You've probably not put as many hours into Path of Exile as a full-time Path of Exile streamer. You've probably not put as many hours into anything as someone who makes that thing their focus. But you can put smaller amounts of time into multiple things. And by doing that, what you actually end up doing... Have I actually done... I've not killed them, I'll say yet. By putting smaller amounts of time into multiple things, you end up with a much broader list of experiences. And that, I think, has value all of itself. Sometimes being hyper-focused is a great thing. Having extremely specific niche knowledge of a specific thing, yeah, that can be great. But having broad knowledge of everything allows you to kind of cross-check and cross-reference lots of things at the same time. There is an advantage to being a jack of all trades, even though no one will come to you for hyper-focused, nuanced knowledge in any specific thing. Having a broad overview is a good strength to have. There were some enemies here that I've missed. I'm trying to work out where they are. And I think I have a Quicksilver Flask that I can now use. Yes, I do. You go there. We've only got about half an hour until the actual PoE2 reveal comes on, so I'm going to keep going with this until then. Knowing enough about everything, but not enough to have meaningful conversations. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Do you believe that someone who is not hyper-focused on something cannot have a meaningful conversation about it? There is something called the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle, which is a phenomenal, fascinating bit, kind of mathematical insight. Almost most things in life end up being split to an 80-20 ratio. You can actually see this in multiple things. Someone once explained to me that 80% of your carpet gets walked on 20% of the time, whereas 20% of your carpet gets walked on 80% of the time. 20% of your income is generated from 80% of the work, whereas 80% is generated from 20% of the work. You can focus, as long as you understand the important 20% of a thing, you can probably talk to about 80% of the people who do that thing. Like, I like Magic the Gathering. You don't need to have put a massive amount of time or be a Magic professional to be able to have an interesting conversation about Magic. You don't need to be able to explain how Splice onto Arcane works in order to have a good conversation with me about Magic. But if you can explain that, great. You're probably a very enfranchised player. The 80-20 rule very much comes up in programming. Once I've achieved 80% of the 20% of your initial effort will probably produce 80% worth of the output. Once you've got that, then have a look at the other extra stuff. Can I explain banding? When you attack with multiple creatures that all have banding, your opponent has to choose to block them as one block instead of multiple creatures. Grab one of the glyphs. Let's grab another one over here. But I might be wrong about banding. So I think it's very strange, because imagine you have 10 different hobbies, and you kind of split your time evenly, 10% to each of them. Let's say somehow you have 100 hours free a week. I don't know, maybe you're very rich, and this is what you do. You have 10 hobbies, you have 100 hours of free time a week, and you put in 10 hours a week to each hobby. If you were to take 10 other people, but they only have one hobby, one of the 10 that you've got, and they put 100 hours a week into that hobby, you could talk to them about one thing, but then they wouldn't know anything about 9. You would know a little bit about everything, and you'd be able to ask them questions. You'd know how much you don't know. And that, to me, has a lot of value. That's very, very important. Google used to have a question in their employment test. It was called the airport question. If you were stuck at an airport and your plane was delayed, who would you rather be stuck with? Someone who is hyper knowledgeable about one thing but doesn't have any knowledge or interest in anything else, or someone who is approximately knowledgeable about multiple things but couldn't necessarily answer super in-depth questions. They would, however, know what question to ask, they just wouldn't know what the answer is. That is the way that I have positioned myself. I don't know Guild Wars 2 as well as a Guild Wars 2 professional. I don't know RuneScape as well as a RuneScape professional. I don't know the Elder Scrolls Online, Final Fantasy XIV, World of Warcraft, as well as a professional in any of those things. But I have more knowledge about the others than the professional in that specific game would have about the others, because they just haven't put enough time in. And this sometimes ends up playing in my favor. I was consulting on a video game many years ago, and it was a team creating a new MMORPG. And they said to me, "We've got this amazing idea for an amazing system. We're going to do this." And I said, "Okay, that's cool. That's great. Good idea. But do you realize that Neverwinter already has that system?" And they went, "Oh, no, we didn't know that." "Well, what about this amazing system? We've got an idea." And I said, "Hey, that's cool, but Skyforge already has that system, and they go, oh, okay, we didn't know that either. What about this amazing system? Riders of Icarus has that system. Okay, what about this system? Guild Wars 1 has that system, which is why you should do it, because it's a good system. But it scared me that they didn't know. And the reason they didn't know was because they had gone to people who were hyper-focused on 1 or 2 games who didn't have broad knowledge about anything else. Meaning they were actually losing a lot of possible knowledge. You can be a specialist, that's absolutely fine, but one of the worst things is when you are starting to take an interest in something and you have a conversation with a specialist, and that specialist's first response to you is, oh, that's nothing. Literally nothing. You've only played this game for several hundred hours. I missed the birth of my child to continue playing it. You've only played it for several hundred hours. I haven't slept for the last 2 years. You've only played it for several hundred hours. I don't even know my own name anymore. My name is just Righteous Fire. I don't even know where I live. I haven't played Bills in the last 6 months. All I do is right-click whenever someone walks up to me. That's the kind of thing. Specialist knowledge is excellent. Specialist interest is excellent. But unless you have the broad knowledge of the general landscape, you might not understand how to apply it. Have any of you ever run into people who are incredibly knowledgeable in 1 or 2 things, but because they don't have the knowledge of the context that they're working within, their knowledge is not being applied as well as it needs to be? That's, I would say, the difference between wisdom and intelligence. Intelligence would be knowing a huge amount about one thing, whereas wisdom would be knowing the context that you can make that thing exist within, and finding how to apply the knowledge you have on one thing to cross-reference with another. That, to me, would be how intelligence and wisdom kind of cross each other. But you can, of course, disagree with this. That's absolutely fine. Alright, hey, we've got our first rare. Fantastic. It's not an orange, but it'll do as a rare for now. We'll just continue to smack these guys down here. You can go on the floor. You can go there. What we got? Increased armor, maximum life, lightning resistance, reflects 2 physical damage, 21 armor. It's good. Cool. It's rare, which means it's better. That's how it works. I love your content and I admire your worldviews and ideologies. The quick question, do I play EDH? Only when I have to and only when someone makes me. And when I play EDH, which is the old term for Commander in Magic the Gathering, nobody has a good time. I do not particularly enjoy Commander, so if someone demands that I play Commander, I will play Send triplets with every single tutor that I can possibly get my hands on, and I will try and infinite combo my way to victory immediately. Therefore, reducing the length of time we have to play EDH for. Everyone kind of thanks me. So I'll stick down Send triplets, I'll go with an artifact combo deck, we'll get Time Sieve out, I'll end up taking ultimate turns within about 5 turns, and then I'll just Walking Ballista everyone to death. That way we only need to play for about 20 minutes. What format do I play? I think Draft is the best format for Magic the Gathering. I really do. I enjoy Standard, I enjoy Modern, I enjoy proxying Vintage because, come on, no one's spending that much money on cards. And if someone wants to proxy Vintage against me, great, let's do it. Let's do that. I want to fight you, not your wallet. But I think that Draft is the best way of doing it. Draft allows cards that don't have a place anywhere else to shine. I think Draft and Sealed is fun because suddenly you see this, 7-cost rare, 7-cost mythic that you will never play anywhere else that suddenly becomes an absolute bomb, and it's the only time that you get to play it and have so much fun with it. That to me is really important. It's just continuing to slap these. I just want to get, all I want to get is Righteous Fire. If I can get Righteous Fire before PoE2 starts, that'd be great. I won't, but it'd be cool if I could. Yeah, Draft is fun with Foundations. I still think the Foundation set's great. I really genuinely do. Does the heart of the cards play? Of course it does. If you don't believe in the heart of the cards, you don't win. That's how every game works. Has the stream window just shrunk? I mean, shouldn't have done. Maybe if we can get some streamer luck going on. Maybe if I just check with my PoE contact and be like, yo, can you turn on streamer drops for me? Because I really need to be getting righteous fire sometime soon. Right, you headed out. Thanks for the stream. You have a good day. Take care of yourself. I'll see you later. We're going to keep slapping these around. There are other people, by the way, also co-streaming the Path of Exile 2 reveals. You're welcome to go and see what they're up to. See what they're doing. We have 19 minutes until the thing starts. I'm not going to try and engage with this. You know what? No, I will engage with this mechanic. This is the new thing. This is the main mechanic of this thing. Let's engage with it and see what happens. Thank God I've gone with AoE, because otherwise this could have taken some serious time. Rare. It is Twitch. They are displaying ads on the side now. Oh, I see. So you're getting a slightly smaller stream because of adverts. Gotcha. And we just continue to smack these things around. Yeah, the new mechanic in this league is there's a new type of enemy and a new way to kill it. You slap it with a giant stick, and then after doing that enough, it dies. Thankfully, I have built into the Unga with a side helping of Bunga. Raid-classed Acne. And now we pop it, and everything is fine. Not sure where all of the rare stuff is, but it's dead at least. Now we go this way. Some of you are excited for the lore in Path of Exile 2, to see where the story goes to. Some of you are amazed that it even has a story, and that's absolutely fine. Some of you will be like, hang on, this game has a plot? It does. It surprised me too when I first discovered that it has a plot. But it's actually quite a good plot. We've got another level. I'm going to go with regen in a second, but I want to search to see where regen... I still think that having a search is one of the best things they've ever added to this. Elemental resistances, regen, regen, regen. Yes, this is where we're building toward. Cool. Somehow that seems more confusing and massive than PoE 1. This is PoE 1. I like plot. I don't believe you. So can somebody in the chat summarize the Path of Exile plot? I'll try and do my best to summarize it in a couple of words. Gods? No. Unless... dead. There we go. That's pretty much it. That's... if you understand that... Ooh, hang on. The Dweller of the Deep. Do we... I think we do. Let's get you out and see if I can survive the massive amount of burst damage I am about to take. Ooh, that was close. Nearly died with that one. It's a good thing that I'm very much speccing into regen. Let's just see what we can do. I'm trying here, guys. I'm putting some effort in. Thankfully, these small ads are actually making refilling my flasks easier. Without them, I would be in trouble. Isn't this the guy that can drop the really good bow? I think it might be. I swear to God, if it drops the really good bow while I'm not trying to get, I'm going to be angry. There is a mini-boss down here that can drop one of the best... Is it Quill Rain? One of the best bows in the game. This is not Daggerfall, that's true. Daggerfall will continue on Saturdays and Sundays. Worry not, the daggers will not stop falling. This is me being excited for Path of Exile 2. That's what this is. What are my thoughts on the old school RuneScape leagues? I've not played them enough to really have any relevant information added to them. That was a terrible drop. Not a rare or a mythic. God damn. Okay, that was a waste of time for everyone. You skip most of the lore when you play. Well, the great thing is that you can do that. You can do that. You don't need to pay attention to any of the lore here if you don't want to. I was full on scam. This is not hardcore mode because I will die at some point. Playing on hardcore mode is a bad idea. It's a very bad idea. Right now we're just ungering to the bungering with this stick, killing some skeletons, and I'm trying to rush through to Righteous Fire. I could be using my Quicksilver Flask more than I am. Oh god, why? I've travelled all the way to a dead end. I just wanted to get to Act 2. Act 2 is killing, I want to say, the mermaid thing, isn't it? I would love to be able to just dedicate more time to playing Path of Exile. I would. Hardcore, yeah, the problem with hardcore is that you sometimes die due to lag or disconnect. Not all the time, but you can blame it. You can blame a death on lag and disconnect, which I think is great. I am playing on solo self-found though. The solo self-found modes. Isn't it so weird that one of the most important mechanical changes that MMORPGs made in the last 10 years is modes that don't involve other players? I still find that really weird that we went that way. I mean, I'm glad we did because I enjoy the solo play of it. Oh my god. There we go. Okay, so I came in there, and I've so far found every route here that isn't the right way. I've actually been quite impressive in finding every route that isn't where we want to go. There's one route that's this way that I haven't been yet. Let's go this way. I'm using Ground Slam because it's nice and easy and I don't want to think too much. I've found every dead end there is apart from, I think, this way. That's where? Where are we going? Where have we not been on this map? Can anyone spot the actual direction that we haven't been on this map? Or was this map just like a self-contained thing and the entire thing was just that enemy boss? It was, yeah, that was just the boss, wasn't it? We just get that one thing that could drop something that didn't. 12 minutes until we get some Path of Exile 2 stuff going on. Killed the boss, did the thing, let's go back. And now try and escape these pools. We're not going to get to the Righteous Fire in time. But I am going to go this way. Side area for a mini-boss, thank you. Yeah, let's interact. Let's interact with the mechanic of the League. I guess groups tend toward echo chambers in gaming. They do. They really do, without a doubt. The problem of trying to join a new group, especially a hardcore group that take their game very seriously, is unless you start taking the game as seriously as they do, they almost see you as lesser. Has anyone ever experienced that in life? Has anyone ever tried to get into something casually, but been put off by the fact that the hardcore fans of that thing treat you as inferior because you're not into the thing as much as they are? This is one thing that I try very, very hard not to do. And I know that people joke about it all the time, and that's why I call it out as often as it happens. When people joke and they say things like, oh, you know, you've only played it for this long, that's nothing. It's not nothing. It is still an amount of time that somebody has put into, you know, playing the game, and it should still be understood that they've put amount of time into playing the game. Don't say that their time is worthless because your time is, you know, you spent more of it in there. That's interesting. You say it happens in music. Do you believe it happens? Because I'm not massively into music culture. I've had friends that are massively into special bands, and there's that whole kind of joke of, you know, you wouldn't know them, they're too underground, that kind of stuff. Do you believe there's a level of personal satisfaction in being into something to a degree that other people aren't? Do you think that's what it is? Do you think to them the enjoyment is not just enjoying the thing, it's knowing that they have esoteric knowledge that other people don't? Is that what it is? Why is Path of Exile 2 a new game instead of DLC? Very good question. Very simple answer. The combat animations. So, apparently, melee... I discovered this when I was chatting to the PoE guys a while ago. The melee combat animations are actually locked to the models, not to the kind of more general rig, which is much more limiting than anything else. It basically means that the reason melee combat can never be made super complicated in PoE 1 is because they're heavily limited in what they can actually do with it. Regenerate life or increased armor. Regenerate life. That's what we need. Yeah, the whole combat design is complicated. But what we were talking about was the idea that if you get into something as a casual, there will be hardcore players that berate you for not being as into it as they are. And it's really strange because this actually ends up being a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. Because imagine that you have one hobby and you spend thousands of hours doing it and you become the guy with that hobby. What happens when you try to change hobby? Suddenly, you're no longer the guy. You're no longer the one with the knowledge in the know, the one that everyone needs to chat to. Suddenly, you're now just one of the guys that you would have effectively bullied before. And I think a lot of people, when they experience that, they don't like it, and so they go back to the hobby that they are the main guy of, and gatekeep even harder. That's what happens when you go from being a rock star within your small community. It's the big fish in the small pond to small fish in a big pond kind of thing. Have any of you ever experienced that, or have you seen people do that? And this links back to the whole idea of if you haven't spent as much time doing my hobby, you're not a real fan. It's a great example of single game streamers, without a doubt. They become celebrities within their own rights, and then they go into another game that doesn't know them, they suddenly don't have that celebrity status, and it can be a culture shock. It really can. It can be unintended, where it's assumed knowledge, the common sense. Yeah, why don't you know this already? Why don't you already know that? Well, because common knowledge is generally an assimilated thing from lots of people passing it on, but none of you have been passing it on to me, so I don't have it. It's one of the things that doesn't sound like a problem, but actually ends up affecting far more people than people tend to realize, which is why I try as hard as I can to rally back against it. Even if it's a joke, even if it's like a silly little, oh my god, what a scrub for not putting 100 hours, 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours into the game, someone will take it in a way that almost puts them off wanting to play the game anymore. And that is why I'd be like, yo, they're not a scrub just because they haven't played as long as you have. They're still starting out, let's help them. And to that end, what game do you guys think has the most welcoming community? Because people always say, you know, what's the most, you know, the worst community to get into? What do you think is the most welcoming? Warframe's pretty good. I think that Path of Exile has one of the nicest communities to get into, because as soon as I started streaming it, the amount of information that people wanted to give me was huge. Without a doubt, the amount of information that people wanted to give me when I started playing this game because they loved the game and they wanted me to love the game was great. Another one that I found was Lord of the Rings Online. The Lord of the Rings Online player base just seems like it's accepted the fact that it's not the biggest MMO, and so has embraced the fact that whoever comes to it is just there for a good time. I think that's what it is. They understand that they're not going to be massive, they're not huge, so they can just enjoy it. They can be silly with it, they can have a good time with it. Gold in chests still feels wrong to me. Oh, this is that boss on the hill thing, isn't it? 5 minutes until the Path of Exile 2 reveals happens, and then we'll switch over to that. Do a bit of a reaction to that as well at the same time. I missed a chest. You know what? I'm zen. I'm zen about it. The first time I played Path of Exile, I had to get every single chest. I forced myself to get every chest. Not anymore. I understand that part of the process now is missing things, and that's okay. You can't be getting everything. You just can't. And that, to me, that was a zen moment when I realised that I can just chill. You will get everything. If you want to play that way, you play that way. But it ended up being more trouble than it was worth for me to play that way. Far more trouble than it was worth. I don't need to click the gold. I'm going to. I'm going to smash these skeletons away. And then I'll kill these guys. And then we'll get ready. We will get ready for Path of Exile 2. You guys ready? I'm ready. When it comes to uncovering the maps in games, I quite like the way this does it. Right, 3 minutes and 30 seconds, which is just enough time for everyone to pop to the bathroom, grab a cup of tea, grab a drink, grab a bite to eat, grab whatever you need, and be here in 3 minutes and 20 seconds. I will see. These guys best not start early, I swear to God if they do. Right, you have 3 minutes and 20 seconds to get everything you need. I will see all of you beautiful people then. Okay, it's starting. Everyone get in. Everyone get in. Imagine it's the late 90s, early 2000s, and you're shouting, "It's starting!" to your family as The Simpsons comes on Channel 2 at 6 o'clock. That is a very specific reference that some of the British people in the chat will get. Did anyone else do that when they were like, when you were kids, and you would shout, "It's starting"? Yeah, see? I'm guessing it was everyone. We'll get rid of you, now we'll play you. Here we go. We've got 2 chats. We've got this chat, we've got that chat. Do we have this chat? We should do. Hang on, let me sort this chat out. Sources. Ah, we haven't got you. I'm going to put you guys next to them. That's what we're going to do. General sources of chat box. Chat box, add source. Now, if you guys type, we should have that appear as well. Beautiful. Look at the speed difference between one to another. The speed difference of one to another. My goodness. You guys don't deserve to be that big. It's starting.
A relic of the old world. Ready your men, Captain. We will only get one chance. And remember, when you hear the whispers, call for help. Do not attack.
When you hear the whispers, what do you think he was on about?
It's Dorman, right?
Yeah?
Then Dorman. Shut your damn mouth. Why do I always get stuck with these rookies?
Hey, the kid's got a mean cleave. Give him a chance.
Quiet.
Hmm?
Sullen!
A mean cleave, eh, Captain? Rookie can't even lift his own sword. Captain Oren?
It wasn't enough to make a
Captain?
better Diablo. They're showing Blizzard how to make cinematics now as well.
It's here. Rain! Send the signal!
What the fuck?
Rain! On my back, Rookie! Blade up!
Come on! I'm ready! I'm ready! It's a man!
No, it's not.
ready.
On your feet, lad.
Sir, the captain,
You'll be fine. Here.
What is it?
Get the body.
Stop. Mortal. It can still be contained. You don't know what you have unleashed.
Your kind no longer control this world. We cannot destroy your body, it's true. But you will watch as we destroy everything you have built. Bind him! Feed. Grow, my child. I'll make sure you can eat your fill.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Now, Path of Exile 2 is going into early access in around 2 weeks on December the 6th. But even though it's early access, this isn't just some small taste. The game is huge. In this live stream, we're going to be introducing everything you can expect. So without further ado, let's roll the gameplay trailer.
Existence is a thing of beauty, precious, but impermanent. Life and death are mortal enemies, and yet bound to one another. The continuation of life must be protected at all costs. Some have said, my methods are brutal. To this, I say, there can be no salvation without sacrifice. We are faced with the end, and I will do what I must. Those who obsess with death, let them soon be acquainted with it.
Now, as you just saw, even in early access, Path of Exile 2 is a big game. It's actually been 5 years since we announced PoE2, and over that time we've revealed a lot, but it's been in bits and pieces. It's pretty hard to keep track of it all, so today we're going to do a full rundown of all the content that will be available at the start of early access. Classes, character progression systems, and for the first time, a full overview of the end game. This is going to be a big one, so get comfortable. For 20 years, Rayclast has been free from any sources of corruption, But the Count of Ogham, tempted by promises of power, intends to harness it once more. The dead are rising, monsters are mutating, and madness is spreading. Under the dark influence of corruption, the Count doles out sentences of death to any who would question him.
Remember, this is free.
And this is where you find yourself at the start of PoE2. Explore the dark forests of Ogham. Traverse the barren plains.
It's not my internet's fine. I've made absolutely sure
Of the Vasteri Desert.
That's not me, that's the
And
stream.
delve into the jungle ruins of Utsal, an ancient Val city. There are challenges.
Guarantee it's not me because there's F's in the chat from the mainstream, and what I will show you
Monsters,
all...
hidden runes, lost camps and treasures, roaming merchants, and of course,
F's in the
unique
chat.
bosses. No two areas are the same. It falls to you to track down the seed of corruption, the source of all this devastation. On the way, you'll face fearsome monsters, meet strange characters, forge unlikely bonds, and uncover lost civilizations. But first, you'll need to pick a class.
Twitch can't handle this.
Now, Early Access will initially have 6 classes available. Let's have a look at them. The Monk is a fast and furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat and has mechanics that involve building up and keeping momentum.
165,000
Like all classes in
viewers.
PoE2, you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos. To get
Twitch can't handle it. There's 165,000 people
new
watching.
skills, you will first need to find skill gems. Using a skill gem will open the gem cutting menu, which shows all the active skills available in PoE2. You can choose an existing...
I'm sorry, but Twitch can't do it. Path of Exile 2 have brought the heat so much that Twitch can't handle it. This is... I'm sorry, but that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Right now, Grinding Gear Games are going to be staring at Amazon being like, we've done our fucking job. Maybe you could do yours. They were not prepared. They really weren't. They was not. Twitch can't handle it. Oh, they can't do it. Absolutely fantastic. So remember that Path of Exile 2 is going to be free. There's going to be a cash shot, there's going to be a cosmetic thing, but thankfully, I very much agreed with the way Path of Exile 1 was monetized. I don't believe it was pay to win. There was definitely a level of convenience with purchasing the bank slots, because pay to win exists on a scale. It exists on a spectrum. And buying the bank slots, buying the extra bank tabs, absolutely, without a doubt, exceptionally useful, but not necessary to finish the game at all. Do I have drops enabled? Should do. But just to make it funny, have both streams up at the same time. Have both Twitch streams up, have mine and have that one, just because I want to see if they can actually handle this at all. Okay, so I think right now what's happening is Twitch seem to be purging a load of viewers from the mainstream. That's just what happens when you have a game that's this bloody good. Can we at least agree that it looks pretty goddamn badass? Let's understand and agree that it looks good. Every time someone says to me, hey, I'm going to make an MMO, I'm going to make a game, I'm going to make an RPG, I say to them, have you made a game before? If that person turned around and said to me, yes, we've made Path of Exile, I would straight away be like, all right, cool, I'm on board. I'm on board with this straight away. It's going to be free. I've already told my friends that when it comes out, we are...
Precious. Those who
power intends to harness. There are 21 active skills for quarterstaves, so this just scratches the surface of the options that you have. By endgame, you'll be dashing from pack to pack, spewing where you find yourself at the start of PoE2.
There we are. They've put the video back in the right
Explore
place.
the dark forests of Ogham, traverse the barren plains of the Vasteri Desert, and delve into the jungle ruins of Utsal, an ancient Val city. There are challenging monsters, hidden runes, lost camps and treasures, roaming merchants, and of course, unique bosses. No two areas are the same. it falls to you to track down the seed of corruption, the source of all this devastation. On the way, you'll face fearsome monsters, meet strange characters, forge unlikely bonds, and uncover lost civilizations. But first, you'll need to pick a class. Now, Early Access will initially have 6 classes available. Let's have a look at them. The Monk is a fast and furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat and has mechanics that involve building up and keeping momentum. Like all classes in PoE2, you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos. To get new skills, you will first need to find skill gems. Using a skill gem will open the gem cutting menu, which shows all the active skills available in PoE2. You can choose an existing skill to level up, or choose to engrave a new one. Since this is a level 7 skill gem, even if you pick a new skill, it will immediately be level 7, so there's no harm in trying out something new. The Monk primarily uses the quarterstaff. There are 3 schools of martial arts: lightning, ice, and wind.
Changing builds is
But don't
gonna be
think
easy.
you have to stick to just one. The best combos are going to involve mixing elements of all 3. Let's try Killing Palm. Like many monk skills, this can be used to quickly take advantage of a specific situation. If there's an enemy on low life, you can use Killing Palm to dash to them and kill them instantly. This will provide a power charge. Then we could use a different skill to consume that power charge for a much more devastating attack. The Monk also has powerful combo skills. Tempest Bell, for example, is a skill that places a giant resonating bell. Hitting the bell causes it to ring, dealing damage to all enemies around it. You can also do things like freeze or shock the bell, which will add elemental damage to the strikes.
Angry
The
bell
Monk also
build.
has a variety of abilities to empower his staff. If an enemy is close to being stunned, you can use Staggering Palm to punch them down. After that, any attack you do will shoot out wind projectiles. There are 21 active skills for quarterstaves, so this just scratches the surface of the options that you have. By endgame, you'll be dashing from pack to pack, spewing projectiles and obliterating screens of enemies with huge combo attacks. Now, if you like a style of melee that's a little slower but hits much harder, then the Warrior is for you. He pounds the ground with big chunky attacks and can shrug off the hits of small enemies with large amounts of armor. Even though the mace slams are slow, you never lose control. Longer attacks can be retargeted as you go, and if you find yourself committed to a long attack, you can dodge roll out of it at any time. Among the skill option for maces, you'll find a variety of slams, fire attacks, war cries, and shield skills.
Animation cancelling.
Here, I'm going to slam the ground, rending it apart with lines of fire. Any slam skill will then cause these fissures to erupt with lava. I can even run through them with a skill like Stampede to do huge amounts of damage. The Warrior can also use war cries, which can empower your next skill. Seismic Cry, for example, will double any slams from your next attack. The Stampede counts as a slam, so I can double that for even more craziness. If you want to go a little faster and be a little more defensive, equip a shield. In PoE2, you can raise your shield at any time to block all damage from the front, even spells. While holding up your shield, your stun meter will build as you take damage, so be careful. If it reaches 100%, your stance will break and you will be vulnerable.
Directional blocking.
Some enemies also have unblockable attacks, which are indicated by this red flash. If you see one of these coming, make sure to dodge out of the way. Using a shield also gives you access to shield skills, like Shield Charge, which allows you to charge towards enemies and stun them. While charging, you're also blocking the whole time, so you have full damage immunity from the front. The Warrior also has access to totems. Some totems have built-in abilities, like Shockwave Totem, which can be placed to stun nearby enemies and trigger aftershocks like those from the Earthquake. But you can also get Ancestral Warrior Totems, which allow you to use any slam skill in your repertoire. This is a meta skill, which means that it's a skill you can put other skills into. I can take a slam like Sunder and socket it into my Ancestral Warrior Totem. Now when I summon him, he'll sit there and slam the monsters from a distance. There are 20 active skills for maces, so there's a lot more to try out, but by endgame you're going to be dropping hammers from the sky, leaping fearlessly into combat, and separating the very earth you stand on. Time for some ranged attacks. The Ranger is primarily about the bow, but we wanted to make sure that she feels agile as well. In PoE2 you can shoot while moving. Combined with all the skills the Ranger has that allow you to jump around, you will have a lot of mobility in combat. Bow skills have a variety of lightning, poison, ice, and physical attacks. Lightning attacks bounce around between targets. You can also stick lightning arrows in the ground which explode when hit by the bouncers, or electrocute enemies to take them out of combat. Ice attacks allow you to slow and freeze enemies to keep them away from you. Using poison, not only can you slowly damage your enemies from afar, but also grow some interesting plants. With 21 bow skills and all the mobility and combo tools the ranger has, you can take advantage of every situation. By endgame, you'll be creating hundreds of arrows, be they falling from the sky, bouncing around between enemies, or spraying out of tornadoes. You might have noticed in the bottom left of the screen that the flask slots look a little different. In PoE2, you have one dedicated life flask slot and one mana flask slot. Flasks gain charges as you kill enemies, and typically allow you to heal 6 or 7 times if they're full. But that's not the only thing you can use charges for. Charms are a new item type that will automatically defend you from various debuffs or damage types. Having trouble with getting frozen? Equip a thawing charm. When it's fully charged, it will make you immune to freeze for 3 seconds if you get frozen. To recharge them, just kill more monsters. You can gain more slots for charms by upgrading your belt. The mercenary wields a crossbow that can be loaded with different ammo types, offering versatility, power, and mobility. All classes in Path of Exile 2 can be controlled with WASD, which makes this class play exactly like a shooter. For the crossbow, you will find skills that work like shotguns, sniper rifles, assault rifles, and even grenade launchers.
Twin stick shooter
But not only
time.
that, there are a wide variety of more interesting elemental ammos too. It's very fast to switch between ammo types, so long as you already have them loaded, which makes the mercenary able to combo abilities together for devastating effect. Use Glacial Bolt to create walls of ice to separate enemies, then switch to fragmentation rounds to explode the ice, dealing massive AoE damage. If I come across an armored enemy, I could use armor-piercing rounds to break their armor, and then high-velocity rounds to take them down. Or perhaps I could fire a gas grenade to poison enemies before detonating the cloud with an explosive shot for massive damage.
This is the American class, bringing freedom.
If you want to call in some suppressing fire, you can summon artillery ballistas. These have a minimum range, so you'll want to prepare your position carefully before moving in. There are 22 active skills for crossbows. By endgame, you'll be calling destruction down from the sky as you litter the battlefield with grenades and pepper your enemies with your automatic shotgun. If you're looking to take a back seat and let your minions do the work, then the Witch should be your choice. She can call forth hordes of undead monsters to fight for her while casting powerful chaos spells that debilitate her enemies. Occult skills are some of the most varied in the game, with skeletons, noxious spells, specialty minions, curses, and sacrificial magic. Before we talk about minions, we'll have to talk about a new resource in Path of Exile 2 called Spirit. This is a spirit gem, which allows you to pick from a range of persistent skills. All classes have a variety of these skills which can add some very interesting effects, like Arctic Armor, which does cold damage to enemies that hit you, or Raging Spirits, which summon fiery skulls each time you cast a fire spell. For the Witch, though, we'll want to be using our spirit to create permanent minions. These minions will be revived automatically when they die, so you don't have to worry about resummoning them all the time. Here, I'm using the skill screen to allocate which minions I would like in my horde. You can see the spirit cost of each one. Skeletal warriors are cheap but weak, useful for tanking damage and distracting enemies. But I want more heavy hitters in my army, so I'm going to unsummon some warriors and instead add skeletal arsonists. Permanent minions come with special active abilities called command skills. You can order these guys to detonate your own minions for even more damage and area of effect. If you want a bigger army, you'll need a scepter. This new weapon type is imbued with even more spirit, allowing you to summon even more friends. And if you want an even bigger army than that, you can take advantage of corpses to summon true hordes of minions. But what can a witch do while her army is at work? Well, she has a range of chaos spells to spread disease amongst your enemies, or bone skills to impale them. Or, you could curse them to make them weaker so your horde can take them down. There are 25 active occult skills. By the endgame, you'll be the leader of a fearsome army of the dead, consuming everything in its path.
This is the build. This is what we're doing. We're going Minion Mancer.
The sorceress bends the elements to her will, using them to unleash devastation on her foes. This classic spellcaster weaves a flurry of elemental magic from afar. The elemental skills have everything you might expect and more. Fireballs, icy explosions, lightning storms, you get the idea. Each spell is unique and has many different ways to build and combo with others, even between different elements. For example, Flame Wall conjures a burning line that not only damages enemies, but also empowers all projectiles that pass through it. If you place a wall and fire lightning sparks through it, they'll gain extra fire damage. It's a good idea to take advantage of the ability to automatically swap weapons when you use certain skills. Having a special staff with bonuses to fire skills and another with bonuses to lightning skills can really power up a combo like this. The Sorceress can also take advantage of powerful trigger gems. For example, you could grab the Cast and Ignite gem and use it with Firestorm. As you ignite enemies, a counter will go up in the top left corner. When it's full, a Firestorm will automatically be cast at the enemy that was ignited. There are 25 active elemental skills. By endgame, you'll be firing off projectiles left and right as you rain down elemental storms on your foes. Now, those are the characters that will be available at the start of early access, but we will be adding 6 more character classes with just as many skills and options as these. There's a lot more to come. There's one more important thing to mention about skills. Even though we talk about them as belong to each class, in reality there are no restrictions. You can use all these skills on any class so long as you have the attributes. For example, a Poison Ranger might want to try out using Occult Curses to increase her poison damage, or a Monk might want to trigger Elemental Ice Walls to use with his Glacial Cascade combo. The possibilities for cross-class combos are practically unlimited. We're looking forward to what kind of things you guys might find. Now, Path of Exile is a game known for build customization, and we haven't even scratched the surface of what is possible yet. So let's talk about support gems. Path of Exile 2 has a system of support gems that can be combined with your active skills to dramatically change the way they work. If you find a support gem, then right-clicking it will open up this screen. Here you will find a variety of recommended support gems for each of your skills that you can pick between. For example, this is a multiple projectiles support gem and can be used to add multiple projectiles to any skill. Normally when you fire a grenade it'll look like this. But if we add multiple projectiles, then you get 3 of them. Once you have the gem, you can also freely move it between any of the skills on your character. If you want to have a multi-shot sniper rifle instead, then simply move the gem over to your high velocity round skill. Generally speaking, if it sounds like a support gem should work with a skill, then it will work. So it's a good idea to experiment. Note that you can only have one of each support gem on your character, so you'll want to think carefully about which supports can be used best with each skill for maximum damage. Now, if you want to stick to the recommendations, you should have a perfectly good time. But if you want to experiment a bit more, then uncheck that recommended button and you can see the full list of supports that will work with your skill. There are hundreds of support gems to choose from, and even we don't know the results of all the possible ways these can interact. Each skill can have up to 5 supports socketed into it, and if you're clever, you can come up with some pretty interesting ideas. Now all of this is just scratching the surface. You can make frost vortexes, break people's armor, make minions explode, make skills repeat, make enemies set each other on fire, cull enemies, or pin them to the ground. Supports let you drastically change the behavior of your skills and create your own unique build, or at least follow someone's OP build guide. So, speaking of builds, let's talk about one of the most iconic Path of Exile systems, the passive skill tree. Yes, it's huge. There are over 1,500 nodes on there. Now, a lot of people open the tree and can get a little intimidated at first, but try not to be scared. There are lots of options, but at its core, it's pretty simple. Each level you get 1 point to put into the tree. Each class starts at a different location, but they all share the same tree. Around your section of the tree, you'll find relevant bonuses for your character. You should be safe in the knowledge that there aren't many wrong choices here. Almost all the starting nodes will be useful for your character in some way. But if you do happen to make a choice you regret, you'll be able to respec any nodes you've taken by spending a little bit of gold. Now, the tree is generally divided up into clusters which have similar themes. In each cluster you will find small nodes that give simple bonuses like increased damage, but the real power comes from notables. Notables normally have much more interesting bonuses, and they tend to care a lot more about how your build works and what skills you're using. For example, in the mercenary area of the tree, this one gives a 25% chance for crossbow skills to not consume a bolt. And here's one that gives grenades a chance to blow up a second time. This one gives a chance for projectiles to rebound off terrain, as well as giving you some pierce chance to make that more likely. Note that even though this is in the mercenary section, this would work with projectiles from all classes, so there are often reasons to go to different areas of the tree. In order to get between these clusters, you will generally have to allocate nodes in the attribute highways. Attribute nodes allow you to pick which attribute you would like to use, so it's very easy to get points for any attribute that your gear might need. You can change which attribute these nodes give you for half price at the respec vendor. In addition to notables, you will also find even larger passives called keystones.
That's huge.
Keystones have both an upside and a downside, and often require changing your entire build to design around them. A great example is Giant's Blood, which allows you to wield two-hand weapons in a single hand, but doubles the attribute requirements of them. You can use a two-hand mace with a shield, or even dual wield them. Or how about Mind Over Matter, which makes all damage go to your mana pool first before your life pool, but you lose 50% of your mana regen. Skills like these can be tough to build around, but if you're up for the challenge, they can be very rewarding. As we showed you earlier on the Sorceress, you can swap between weapon sets on the fly as you use certain skills. One of the new features in Path of Exile 2's passive tree is that you can choose to have your passive tree change as you switch between weapon sets to take advantage of specific bonuses on the tree. For the Sorceress, you might want to change between fire and lightning specialization. Or you could switch between one hand and a two-hand setup in order to be able to block boss attacks while following up with heavy hits from your bigger mace.
So each weapon
or perhaps
is
you
its
could have a
own
full
tree
curse setup
setup
on your witch to debuff enemies before switching to a chaos degen build for maximum damage. If you want to stick with just one weapon set, you can just use these specialization points as bonus points to invest however you like, but creative players will find plenty of opportunities with this system. You can get weapon specialization points throughout the campaign from optional bosses and quests. For example, if I manage to defeat the Crowbell, I'll get a weapon specialization book. There are lots of other permanent boosts available from the campaign too. On the map you can see icons that indicate the many optional encounters you can find. Some of them have permanent character boosts, and others have powerful items. If you're having trouble getting past a boss, it might be a good idea to explore and see what you can find. For example, if you defeat Blackjaw the Remnant, you'll gain a permanent increase to fire resistance. One of the most important finds are spirit bonuses. You can find the first one here in the canopy in Act 1. Defeat the boss in this area to acquire a permanent addition of spirit. The permanent buffs you gain from spirit are very powerful, and every class will find a use for them, so make sure you hunt down these upgrades. There's one in each act. Now we haven't even talked about the most important element of character progression, items. That's why we're all here, right? Items in Path of Exile can be broken down into 4 rarity groups: normal, magic, rare, and unique. One of the things you're going to want to do as you play through the campaign is upgrade the items you find, and you can do that with currency items. An Orb of Transmutation will allow you to upgrade a normal item to a magic item with 1 mod. You can then apply an Orb of Augmentation to add a second mod, then use a Regal Orb to add a third mod, and upgrade it to a rare. Finally, you can use some Exalted Orbs to add more mods to your rare to a total of 6 mods. One of the things we think is really important is to make these options available to use as you play. All the items that add mods are much more common than they were in Path of Exile 1, so that you can use them throughout your campaign playthrough. We want you to find things on the ground that can be crafted into upgrades much more frequently. As well as making the drop rates on these items much more common, you can also get them by disenchanting unwanted gear at the magic item vendor. If you disenchant magic items, you can build up to an Orb of Transmutation, and by disenchanting rares, you can build up to Regal Orbs. Another important area of crafting items in PoE2 is sockets. Some items you find will have sockets that can have Ezomite runes placed in them that add more mods to the item. If I insert this glacial rune into my helmet, it will give extra cold resistance. This is a great way to solve problems that you have with your build, like resistances or damage. If you find socketed items that you don't have a use for, you can take them to the salvage bench in town to work towards an Artificer's Orb. This will allow you to add sockets to your existing items. Body armors and 2-hand weapons can have up to 2 sockets, while the rest of your armor and 1-hand weapons can only have 1 socket. You can also salvage items with quality to create items like armor scraps or whetstones. These will allow you to increase the quality of your items for an up to 20% boost. If you don't want to disenchant or salvage your items, you can always sell them for gold. Gold can be used to buy items from vendors, and we've tried to do a lot to make sure that the items they have for sale are actually useful. Every time you level up, they get more stock, so make sure to check back often. Other vendors offer a gamble. Pay a flat amount of gold and you'll get a random item of a specific type. This could be a great way to improve your gear, if you're lucky. Gold is also used to respec your passive skills. Take advantage of this system to experiment with your tree and rework it as required. The other thing you might want to use gold for is the currency exchange. This allows you to exchange currency items with other players on an open market, in exchange for a small gold fee. Now, all items in Path of Exile are freely tradable. We never bind anything to your character, except gold. Now, most gear in Path of Exile 2 is randomly generated, but there's another type that isn't: uniques. They are especially rare, each with a handcrafted set of unusual mods which can dramatically change a character's build. They're not just better rare items, they can do much stranger things that can fundamentally change your character. Corpse Wade will make any corpses you run through explode into clouds of poison. The Sands of Silk is a body armor that changes your dodge roll into a blink, morphing you into sand as you teleport past your foes. And of course, some uniques are just pure hits of dopamine, like Quill Rain, which just turns your bow attacks into full auto by doubling your attack speed. Each unique is something that you can build your character around. We try to make sure that most unique items have a potential use at endgame, even if you find them early on. And as you can see, every single unique item comes with custom art to match. The last character progression system that you can do during the campaign is Ascension. Starting in Act 2, you will come across Ascension trials, tests that you must complete to unlock your Ascension class. We'll explain these trials soon, but first let's take a look at what Ascending can do for your character. Each class has access to 3 Ascendancy classes, but at the start of Early Access, only 2 per class will be available. Ascendancy classes are unique to each character class, so choose wisely. They can drastically affect how you build your character. As a sorceress, you could become a Stormweaver, a master of the elements. Tempest Caller causes elemental storms to be summoned each time you do a critical hit with a spell. With Strike Twice, you can stack 2 copies of Shock for more damage, and going deeper into the tree, you can make all your damage types apply Shock. Make a Shock build from any skill. Alternatively, you could become a Chronomancer and command time itself. She literally has the ability to stop time with Time Freeze. Not only that, but she has many other time manipulation abilities. Using Temporal Rift, she can teleport back to a previous location, resetting her life and mana back to what it was. Or with Time Snap, she can reset all her cooldowns and cast all her spells again. On the Warrior, you can choose between the Warbringer or the Titan. The Warbringer channels the might of his ancestors to gain tremendous power. Using Answered Call, you can summon ancestral spirits linked to each of your totems. With Jade Heritage, you can encase your body in a protective layer that absorbs all damage until it breaks. Warcaller's Bellow allows you to explode the corpses of your enemies. And with Great Wolf's Howl, you can ignore the cooldowns of your war cries. Let all that anger out. The Titan class is all about hitting big. With Earthbreaker, every slam is a chance to create an aftershock. With Crushing Impacts, every hit becomes a crushing blow, which will allow you to stun your enemies with ease. With Surprising Strength, you can take advantage of stunned enemies to deal 40% more damage. As a ranger, you might choose to be a Deadeye, an expert markswoman who can take down foes with style. With Endless Munitions, every attack gains an extra projectile. With Gathering Winds, she gains a small increase to movement speed with every attack, but be careful, she loses them when getting hit. With Eagle Eyes, she will never miss, allowing you to stop wasting all those passive points on accuracy. Alternatively, you could become a Pathfinder, the master of flasks and poison. She can choose from one of several throwable concoctions, allowing her to spend her flask charges to throw explosive bottles that deal various types of damage. A bleeding concoction will make your enemies bleed, while a fulminating one can shock your enemies, allowing you to do extra damage. Contagious Contamination allows her to spread poisons between her foes, while Overwhelming Toxicity doubles the number of stacks they can be infected by. Running Assault allows her to move much more quickly while firing, while Relentless Pursuit makes her totally immune to being slowed by enemies. The Witch can ascend into the Infernalist or the Blood Mage. As an Infernalist, she can summon a loyal Hellhound companion. The Hellhound sets enemies on fire, as well as taking a percentage of the damage if the Infernalist gets hit. With Pyromantic Pact, you can turn your mana into Infernal Flame. As you cast more spells, the flame builds up, and if it overflows, you'll take damage. Using Bringer of Flame, you'll want to make sure you keep the flames topped up. While your Infernal Flame is above 30%, all damage from you and your minions will ignite enemies. She can also transform into a literal demon. While in demon form, she takes an increasing amount of damage, but her cast speed and damage increase rapidly as well. So if you're planning on transforming into a demon, make sure you stack a lot of life recovery. She can also become a Blood Mage, a master of life and energy. All Blood Mages must pay the price of making skills cost life as well as mana, but in exchange, every monster they kill will drop life remnants, which allow them to quickly gain back that life. With Crimson Power, she can gain large amounts of extra life, and with Vitality Siphon, she can use her spells to leech life back as well. Once you've got a significant amount of life, you can use Gore Spike to make your critical hits deal incredible amounts of damage. A monk who is in tune with the elements might become an Invoker. With Elemental Expression, the Invoker will create waves of elemental power each time he does a critical strike. With Faith as a choice, you gain the ability to meditate, allowing you to double your energy shield. Choose between I am the Blizzard or I am the Thunder to specialize in cold or lightning. And I Shall Rage will allow you to turn into an unbound avatar.
You can have I
Each
am
time
the
you
storm
apply
that
a
is
status
approaching
ailment
as a
to an
build.
enemy, you gain Unbound Fury. When you have enough, transform into an avatar to deal way more damage and inflict even more elemental ailments. Some monks choose to reach into the darkness instead. The Acolyte of Chayula can exchange their mastery of spirit for darkness, a resource that can be utilized to both absorb and deal damage. The Shroud of Darkness will protect you from all damage incoming, but if you take Grasp of the Void, you will deal extra chaos damage from all the darkness you have. Their Dark Pact offers greatly increased resistances to chaos damage and can allow their mana leech to not only happen instantly, but apply to their energy shield as well. Another node you can take is Waking Dream, which allows you to see into the domain of the Breach Demons. There you will see the Flames of Chayula that can be taken to gain life, mana, and damage. The Mercenary has a job to do, but which job suits you? You might choose to become a Witch Hunter. Obsessive Rituals will give you a sorcery ward, allowing you to defend yourself against elemental hits in exchange for less defense against attacks. With Zealous Inquisition, your enemies have a 10% chance to explode on death. The chance is doubled against demons and undead. With Judge, Jury, and Executioner, your initial hit against enemies can deal up to 30% of their life and damage, if you're lucky. This is great for hunting powerful bosses. And with Witchbane, you can break your enemy's concentration, preventing them from casting spells as often as they would usually do. You could also choose to become a Gemling Legionnaire, enhancing your abilities by embedding gems directly in your flesh. Integrated Efficiency will give you extra skill slots. Thermatological Infusion gives you extra maximum resistances as you sock up more and more support gems. Adaptive Capability allows you to use any color of gem without worrying about attributes, while Crystalline Potential adds extra quality bonuses to every gem socketed into your character. So those are the Ascendancy classes for the start of Early Access, but one thing we haven't talked about yet is how you ascend in the first place. Ascension in Path of Exile 2 requires completion of one of the Great Trials, which you'll find as you progress through the campaign. Each one is associated with one of the major cultures of Rayclast. Located in the Vasteri Plains are the Maraketh, a culture of rich tales and brutal traditions, who must do whatever it takes to survive in the desert. The highest position in Maraketh culture is a Sekima, and it is not a title given freely. All aspirants must complete the Trial of the Sekimas, a grueling gauntlet that will test their strength, will, cunning, and patience. To enter, a warrior of the Maraketh must prove their worth by trapping the soul of a djinn in a coin, and you are no different. Once you have earned your coin, it may be placed on the relic altar to begin the trial. In the Trial of the Sekimas, each room has its own challenges to overcome. In this room, each rare monster you kill will send its blood to the chalice in the center of the room. Once the chalice is filled, you will be able to proceed. While fighting monsters in the trial, you will need to be very careful. Each hit will not only hurt you, but will damage your honor. The monsters are well telegraphed, so that you can avoid their attacks, but if you run out of honor, you will fail the trial and need to find another coin in order to try again. It is a good idea to make sure that you are well prepared before challenging the Trial of the Sekimas.
So some skill is needed.
After each room, you will be rewarded. In this case, you have been given a key that can be used to unlock chests later in the trial. Once you have claimed your reward, you will be shown a map of the rest of the floor and may choose how you wish to proceed. Which challenges would you like to face, and which rewards do you want to claim? Some rooms are more dangerous, afflicting you with debuffs that will persist for the entire trial. For example, entering this room will afflict you with Spiked Shell that will cause all monsters in the rest of the trial to have 50% increased life. You will want to take care if you choose such a path. There are many different challenges and rewards as you journey through the trial. Deadly traps, waves of monsters, and strange artifacts will test your honor. As you progress, you'll be able to gain boons from the Jinn, which will help you on your journey. For example, the Sekima's Cloak will revive you once if you die, giving you a second shot at a run. One of the rewards you may find is Sacred Water, an extremely valuable and treasured resource to the Jinn and the Maraketh. Trading it with the Jinn will allow you to receive many benefits. You can recover honor, gain additional boons, or remove afflictions. At the end of the floor, you'll find a powerful boss which will truly test your limitations. In order to ascend, you will need to defeat him. Having defeated the boss, you've earned the right to ascend. But first, the loot. The keys you have found may be used to open the various treasures in the vault at the end of the floor. We only have a single bronze key, so we'll just have to open one of these small chests. If you want to open the better ones, you'll need silver or gold keys. Let's use the Altar of Ascendancy. Your first ascension will allow you to pick your class and grant you 2 points to use in the tree. Now there are more floors and many more rewards that can be found within the Trial of the Sekimas, but we'll save that for the section on the endgame. For now, let's talk about the second Ascendancy trial, the Trial of Chaos. In Path of Exile 2, you can choose whichever trial you like to earn your ascension. Each culture on Rayclast had their own methods to ascend. If the Trial of the Sekimas is not your kind of playstyle, or you're finding it too difficult, you could try another. You can gain all your ascension points from just one, or mix and match them. It's up to you. For early access, we will have 2 trials as options, with a 3rd trial coming later for the full release. While exploring the Vaal jungle, you'll discover the Temple of Chaos. Before the Vaal embraced the science of corruption, their civilization worshipped chaos. This ancient trial was once used by the Vaal to test their high priests. A high priest of the Vaal must show willingness to risk everything to gain power. Entry to the trial requires a token from a strange entity known only as the Trial Master. For those in which he sees potential, he shall inscribe an ultimatum. Many have attempted these trials in search of greatness. Most have perished. Will you be able to defy the odds? Before you begin each chamber, the Trial Master will offer you a reward and a choice. Choose one of 3 tribulations to affect you through the rest of the trial. These modifiers might beef up the monsters, curse the player, or add environmental hazards like turrets or trap runes. In this case, we'll be picking shocking turrets. As you enter the room, the Trial Master will fill it with hazards to test your commitment. In this case, you must destroy all the monsters that fill the room, while dealing with the lightning projectiles from the shocking turrets.
Stacking debuffs as you go through.
After each room, you will need to make a choice. Take the rewards you have earned so far, or go double or nothing. Increase your rewards, but take on more risk. Each tribulation you add is minor on its own, but they quickly stack on top of each other and can become overwhelming. There are many types of chambers in the trial. Each will test your resolve in different ways. This one simply requires you survive for a certain amount of time. Another requires you to escort the stone idol through the level as elevators full of monsters descend to attack you. Should you be able to get through the first 3 chambers, you will face your first boss. The order of the bosses is random, and combined with the tribulations you have selected, the fight will never feel the same. After defeating the boss, you may claim your rewards. Of course there are the items, but you also gain the right to ascend. if you already did the Trial of the Sycamores, then you can claim 2 more points to add to your Ascendancy class. Now, it's possible to go much deeper. There are more bosses, rewards, and risks to take, but we'll talk more about that when we get to endgame. So how about we talk about that now? So far, we've only been showing you footage from the campaign, but some people would argue that the endgame is where the game truly begins. Something that happens almost every time a new action RPG launches is people saying, there isn't enough endgame content. Well, we want to make sure that in PoE2 people don't feel that way, and we actually only changed our development priority for this recently. The first 3 acts of PoE2 already take around 25 hours to complete if you're a new player. This is already a pretty significant campaign. On the other hand, people spend hundreds of hours in endgame each league. We realized that finishing the rest of the campaign for early access was actually a bad idea. Instead of having acts 4 to 6 in early access, we could concentrate on endgame and make that great. For new players, a 25-hour campaign is already a huge game with lots of content, but for existing action RPG players, what you mostly care about is all the endgame challenges to overcome. So several months ago, we switched the entire development team's focus over to making endgame content. At the start of early access, there will be 50 bosses and around 400 monster types, but the great thing is that the rest of the game is like 80% there. We'll be adding content to roughly double the size of the game during early access and into release. Now, in order to make the endgame happen at the same character level as what it would be after we added the rest of the acts, we've added a second difficulty level called Cruel, where you repeat the campaign with all the monsters and bosses leveled up. And of course, new rewards. You can kind of think of it as like a new game plus. It's also a lot faster to get through the content the second time as your clear speed increases. That will take you to around level 65, where the endgame begins.
50 bosses for
Once
early
we add
access.
the remaining 3 acts, we'll be removing Cruel difficulty, so you'll progress straight from the end of Act 6 to endgame. But what is the endgame? To explain that, I'll hand over to Mark. He can tell you all about it.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Well, one thing that Path of Exile is known for is having a lot of distinct endgame content to choose between. Each endgame mechanic needs to have its own progression system, areas, bosses, rewards, and player power that can only be gained from that content. We are going to be adding a lot more over time, but for Path of Exile 2 we decided to start with 7 distinct systems you can progress through.
Everyone
This
say hi, Mark.
is the Atlas, and it serves as the core of the endgame for Path of Exile 2. It's infinite and expands in all directions. Now, we are not going to spoil the plot too much here, but corruption from the beast has blighted the land, and your objective is to help fight it. In the center of the Atlas you will find the Ziggurat, a temple in which the Vaal research the fundamentals of space and time. Here, we can open portals to nearby locations and begin cleansing corruption and finding resources. In order to power the portal device, we will need waystones. Each waystone has a tier which will determine the level of the monsters that you will face. To go to an area, simply click one that is adjacent to an area that you have already completed. Insert the waystone and click Traverse. Portals will open, allowing you and your party to travel to the area you have selected. All the areas in the endgame feel distinct from the locations in the campaign, and we have dialed the randomization up to 11. The monster packs you will face in each map are totally random, and the combination of them can lead to some very interesting combat situations. There are over 400 monster types in early access, and they have a lot of varied and interesting abilities. Depending on which combinations you face, you might find some serious challenges. In order to cleanse the corruption from the area, you will need to defeat all the powerful rare and unique enemies in it. Once you have done that, the area will be marked as completed and you will be able to travel past it to progress deeper into the world. If you die, then the map can no longer be run, and you will have to find another way around to get to the areas behind it. There are also all kinds of other random encounters you might run into as you play maps. One such encounter are precursor artifacts. These are ancient, corrupting monuments that irradiate the monsters around them. The monsters that feed off the corruption are drawn to their power. If you defeat the monsters and cleanse the artifact, you will get a powerful temporary buff. Some of the buffs make you faster, others rain lightning or fire around you, and some even give you increased experience or help you find better items. You can also find strong boxes. These enigmatic chests guard piles of treasure, but are always a trap. Monsters lie in wait to attack you the moment you open it, and the boxes often have mechanisms to unleash powerful spells or dangerous debuffs. There are different types of strong boxes containing different items, and you can even use your currency items to craft them on the fly, so you can optimize the content. But be careful of opening one you can't handle. Sometimes you'll discover monsters frozen in essences, solidified crystalline corruption. These dangerous monsters can be broken free. If you defeat them, the essence they drop can be used to upgrade normal items to magic items with a guaranteed mod from a category. For example, we could use this one on some boots to ensure a movement speed mod. Rarely, essences will also drop that allow you to upgrade magics to rares, adding the guaranteed mod.
There's a 35% movement increase on those boots.
This is incredibly powerful since it allows you to get a second deterministic mod in your crafting projects. Combining these with the currencies that are commonly found in Rayclast for modifying items, and we can get a very nice pair of boots indeed. Waystones, like all items, can also be crafted using your currency items. Adding prefix mods will improve the rewards, while suffix mods increase danger. The more dangerous a map is, the more waystones will drop. Adding mods to your waystones is key to progressing to higher tiers and sustaining them, but it will require you to take on larger challenges. There are a variety of factors you'll have to consider when crafting your waystones. Some maps will have higher density, some lower, some have more magic and rare chests, or monsters, some are more linear and others more open. Make sure you explore and think about what makes certain maps good if you want to maximize your returns. As you cleanse corruption from higher and higher tiers of the Atlas, you will gain points that you can spend in the Atlas tree. This tree allows you to juice the danger and rewards of all areas in the endgame. You could increase the number of monsters, the number of rares, the number of precursor artifacts or strongboxes, even the quantity of item drops. As you explore the endgame world map, you'll notice various different biomes, from snow-capped mountains to dense jungle valleys. Most maps are restricted to certain biomes. As you continue to explore deeper into the Atlas, there are all sorts of things to discover. These cities are constructed by different peoples of Rayclast, and have specific items that can be found there. These strange structures marked on the map don't appear to do anything for now. Perhaps you'll work out how to use them later. You might find unique maps like Untainted Paradise, an undisturbed island full of beasts that give an extreme amount of experience. You may even find a lonely man just enjoying his retirement who will give you a unique item for free. In addition, you can find special areas that would make a good spot to set up camp. Clear these areas of their hostile inhabitants, and you'll be able to claim them as your own hideout. You can decorate your hideout as you see fit and invite various NPCs to join you there to create your own personal base of operations. A great tool for exploration are towers. These mysterious precursor constructs are dotted around the Atlas. Completing the tower will reveal a large area around it, allowing you to scout out your next challenge. There are lots of things to find, so keep looking. Some sections of your Atlas are influenced by corruption. This adds extra modifiers to the maps in the region, increasing difficulty and rewards. Here, slaying monsters in close proximity to each other will cause the vestiges of corruption within them to merge together, forming powerful and grotesque abominations. You may have noticed while looking at the Atlas that some of the areas have these icons above them. The icon indicates that the area contains some kind of special encounter. This icon indicates that the area has a powerful boss. Because only 1 in 4 maps contain a map boss, we are able to make them very powerful and very rewarding. These bosses come from the campaign, but have had their difficulty increased with changes to AI and some of their abilities. It's worth noting that because you can see where the bosses are, you can choose to take them on or avoid them. If you do choose to hunt bosses though, then you will be rewarded with special points for the boss hunting section of the Atlas skill tree. The points here will allow you to specialize in boss killing, giving you much greater rewards for defeating them. For each different type of content in the endgame, we are adding specialized trees in order to make it so you don't feel the need to respec your points when you change between different types of content. We will be showing you 7 of these by the end of this presentation, so there is still a lot more to come. Bosses are not the only icon you will see on the Atlas. Let's take a look at one of the endgame systems, Breach. If you played PoE1, you might be familiar with Breach. For PoE2, we have created sequels to several PoE1 leagues. While the mechanic is familiar, the monsters, bosses, rewards, and progression are all new. A breach is a tear in the fabric of reality. Opening it will allow you to see the demons and otherworldly monstrosities that lie in wait on this other plane of existence. By engaging with a breach, you'll create a bridge between their world and Rayclast. In order to keep the breach open, you will need to kill the demons that pour forth. The faster you can kill the monsters, the more monsters you will fight, and the more loot you will find. You can also find clasped hands that will open and drop more items if you run over them. These can be a good boost to the rewards of the breach, so keep an eye out. One of the rewards that you may find while fighting monsters from Breach are tablets. Tablets are special items that can be used with precursor towers to add more encounters to the Atlas. Breaches will drop Breach tablets. Clicking on a completed tower will allow you to consume the tablet to add more breaches to areas within range of the tower. This makes all the content in the Atlas self-sustaining. Want to do more breaches? Find the tablets, add them to your towers, get more breaches, getting more tablets. Soon your Atlas will be covered in otherworldly domains. In addition, like all items in PoE, you can craft them. Use your currency to add mods to your tablets, allowing you to upgrade all the breaches in range. Tablets can have up to 2 mods. These mods do things like adding extra rare monsters, extra clasped hands, or even monster density of breaches, allowing you to keep them open longer. Often, you will find multiple towers near to each other with overlapping areas of effect. This can allow you to rarely juice the mechanic by stacking the mods from multiple tablets. In your fight to hold the Breach demons at bay, you may want to use the powers of their world against them. Each in-game mechanic...
If you're feeling lost, don't worry. Professional Path of Exile players don't understand how it works. Just kill stuff, you'll be fine.
Catalysts. Items that can increase the quality of rings and amulets by improving specific mobs. You can also find Breach Rings, a special base type that can have its quality improved by catalysts up to 50%. In this case, you could create a ring with around 170 life. Breach Rings can become some of the strongest rings in the game, giving you some good motivation to face the demon hordes. In addition, each endgame mechanic needs to have a pinnacle endgame encounter. While killing Breach monsters, you may find Breach Splinters. Collect enough of these and you'll be able to create a Breach Stone. Using a Vaal technology called the Realm Gate, you can use your Breach Stone to access their domain and bring the fight to them. In this twisted domain, you will find nothing but a single massive breach. Triggering it will reveal hordes of Breach inhabitants.
Calling this early access is like saying the Mona Lisa is almost finished.
And should you be fast enough, you will be able to fight their leader, Zesht. We that are one.
We that dreamed. We in nightmare. We that are one. Fate relies
This is just one of the pinnacle encounters of PoE2. We won't be showing the rest of them, so you will have to discover them for yourself. But rest assured, this is some of the hardest content we have ever made. All of these encounters have specific uniques that can only be found from them, but that's not all. We still have the progression system. Defeating Zesht will give you points to allocate into the Breach section of the Atlas tree. Allocating these points will make breaches and the Breach domain even harder, but will give you more rewards. The small nodes will increase the difficulty of the Twisted Domain, while the large nodes have more specific bonuses. For example, this node adds more clasped hands to your breaches, and adds a pack of magic monsters that can guard them. Get some more points and you can allocate Waking Nightmare, which will double the number of splinters you get from clasped hands, and inflict you with a mysterious debuff. In order to earn more points, you will need to defeat Zesht at a higher difficulty, and some rewards from Zesht can only be found by increasing the difficulty of the Twisted Domain above certain thresholds. Defeating Zesht at difficulty 4 will be a challenge indeed, but there are many more threats in Rayclast. Ritual altars are sacrificial sites built by the mysterious King in the Mists. If you encounter this symbol on the Atlas, then you know that the area contains ritual altars.
This is not a skill tree,
Ritual
this is a
altars
skill
demand
forest.
tribute. Every monster you slaughter in the circle will feed the altar. After the sacrifice, touch it to begin the ritual. The monsters you just killed will be resurrected by the King of the Mist's dark magic, and you must fight to survive. The tribute you have offered to the altar can be spent to buy powerful items, but they can be expensive. To gain more tribute, you will want to find more altars. Each successive ritual you do within an area will spawn the monsters revived by the previous ones, in addition to the ones you sacrifice next to it. By the end of an area, you will be fighting a truly imposing number of foes, but will have a significant amount of tribute to spend. One of the rewards you can buy with tribute are omens. These are special items that allow for metacrafting. Crafting items that affect other crafting items. Have an item with good prefixes but bad suffixes? This omen will help you to remove the mod you don't want while keeping the ones you do. There are a bunch more of these with different effects, but we will leave them for you to discover. Now don't forget that Ritual will also drop tablets, which can be used to specialize into getting more rituals. If you want to get to the pinnacle boss of Ritual, then you will probably want to use them. They can also be crafted to grant mods, making your rituals more rewarding. The pinnacle encounter of Ritual is the King in the Mists. Feared by the Azmeri people, he is said to have brought eternal darkness to the Wildwood. We won't show the encounter, but just like Breach, there are a range of unique items you can get for defeating him, and you will gain points in the ritual section of the Atlas tree. Some maps have been touched by insanity. A mysterious entity has taken a special interest in you. Step through the looking glass and you will find your nightmares coming to life. When you touch a mirror, the mists of delirium will spread out across the area, infecting your mind. You must stay within the mist to maintain the nightmare, which is as profitable as it is terrifying. Everything you kill will increase the rewards that drop. However, the deeper into the mist you travel...
If you've never played Path of Exile before, you need to understand that Grinding Gear games do not know how to stop making a game.
Terrifying demons, who will manifest out of them to unleash powerful attacks on you. The mist also offers a strange crafting material, distilled emotions. By combining these emotions, you are able to instill your amulet with a notable from the passive skill tree. This is like gaining an extra passive point for free, attached to your gear. They are also particularly great because you don't have to traverse the tree to get them, allowing you to get off-class bonuses that would normally be much harder to get. Distilled emotions can also be used to instill your endgame maps, applying Delirious to them and adding additional difficulty and rewards, allowing you to further juice your endgame maps. The tablets you can find from Deliria can be used to further improve it, increase pack size, make the fog dissipate slower, or improve your progress towards the pinnacle.
I think Grinding Gear Games heard players complaining that games didn't launch with endgame content, and they took that very personally.
Will create strange encounters based on warped versions of your own memories. Monsters and simulacrums come in waves that get progressively more difficult. You will receive loot at the end of each wave, and you will have to make the decision to leave now or continue on, facing up against even tougher foes from the mist. The bosses you will face as you get deeper into a simulacrum are truly terrifying. If you can complete a simulacrum, you will gain points for the Delirium section of the Atlas skill tree. Next up, we have Expedition. Occasionally, while clearing corruption, you will encounter these Kalguran settlers. The Kalgurans have discovered ancient burial sites with lost Verisium artifacts, and they want you to help dig them up with explosives. The Kalgurans have marked the locations where the relics can be found. Place explosives as best you can to dig up as many as possible. There is just...
This is why the game isn't out yet! Stop making it! You've finished!
Do a little cleanup before you can reclaim the artifacts. You can also find remnants, the destruction of which will further anger the restless dead. Each one you blow up will make the subsequent monsters more powerful, but also more rewarding. Danig, Rog, Tujin, and Gwenin will exchange the artifacts for useful items and runic magic. You can also find tablets to increase the number of expeditions and the rewards. This one increases the radius of explosives, while this one increases the number of remnants you will find. Eventually, you might discover a logbook. These are special maps full of buried treasure and relics, essentially one giant dig site. Here, you can create an extremely long chain of explosives and go through a very high number of remnants. But be careful, many remnants have mods that can really brick your build, so you will probably want to avoid these ones. If you add too many remnants, you could easily make the encounter harder than you can handle. There are all sorts of interesting things buried under the ground in logbooks. You might find dripping caves and hidden pirate caches. but the most powerful encounter is Olroth, the ancient undead commander of the Knights of the Sun. Defeating him will grant you unique rewards, as well as points to spend in the expedition section of the Atlas tree. So those are the in-game systems on the Atlas, but we are not done yet. The trials we talked about earlier have much more content when you get to endgame too. Just like the other endgame systems, they also have progression mechanics, unique rewards, and player power that can only be gained from them. As you get higher level coins for the Trial of the Sycamores, you will unlock more floors to explore. Each floor has its own challenging rooms, and a floor boss that you will need to kill. There are 4 floors in total, leading to another pinnacle boss at the end of the last floor, which can only be accessed at endgame.
What's your favourite part of Path of Exile 2? I don't know!
Into your tree. These are like passives that you can craft with your currency items. They can be really powerful as they allow you to stack modifiers that may not be easily accessible on the tree normally. This jewel gives lightning damage and shock chance, for example. There are quite a few jewel sockets on the tree, so it's possible to gain a lot of power here. There are also other types of jewels that don't provide any bonuses themselves, but affect other passives surrounding them. This jewel increases the effect of small nodes and radius by 25%. With careful placement in the tree, you could get a significant amount of power from it. There are also unique jewels available with very interesting effects, but you will have to find those for yourself. In order to push further into the trial and uncover the secrets of the Maraketh, you will want to take advantage of its progression system, relics. Relics are items that can be placed in the relic altar as you start the trial. They give special bonuses that affect the trial, making it easier and increasing its rewards. Of course, you can craft these with your currency items, making them even stronger. If you can complete the entire trial overcoming all 4 floors, the final boss will reward you with one of many unique relics. These relics will be consumed when used on your next run, but can reward you with unique and powerful items. For example, this is the Last Flame. If you use it, you will have only 1 honor for the entire trial, so you will need to do a completely hitless run. The Trial of Chaos also extends into the endgame. As you gain inscribed ultimatums of higher and higher levels, the number of chambers that you can go through increases. In true Vaal style, this allows you to take even more risks for even more rewards. At endgame, you can progress through up to 10 chambers with 3 bosses on a single run. Stacking 10 tribulations on top of each other will make this a significant challenge, but it's worth it. The Trial Master will tempt you with items of the Vaal Empire, such as Vaal Orbs. Vaal Orbs are powerful crafting items that corrupt your gear with random, mysterious outcomes. Corruption prevents an item from being modified further, so it has to be the last step of your craft, but it's also the most impactful one. For example, if you use one on your body armor, it might add a new powerful enchantment, or it might re-roll up to half of its modifiers. Vaal Orbs also have the ability to add a socket, allowing you to bypass the normal restriction of how many sockets an item can have. A body armor could get up to 3 sockets this way, allowing for a significant number of mods. Vaal Orbs can even modify uniques. Adding enchantments or sockets to uniques can make them incredibly powerful, but there is a good chance that you will break them as well. The Trial Master will also occasionally offer you soul cores. Originally formed by Chaos, the Vaal sought to replicate soul cores through human sacrifice rituals and blood magic to power their civilization. Soul cores are powerful socketable items, with mods that cannot be obtained from regular runes. Like all endgame content, there is of course a pinnacle boss. The final chamber will drop keys to this mysterious door. Some say this is where the Trial Master himself resides. Perhaps you are willing to take the risk to find out. Had enough yet? Because there is still just one more thing. The most difficult content in Path of Exile 2. While mapping, you might come across this fortress that has emerged from underground, surrounded by an enormous maze riddled with danger. Is the maze preventing something from getting in, or something getting out? This fortress is of ancient origin, and its construction has similarities to the towers and tablets that you have been using on your journey through the endgame. It is clear from the entrance that there are 3 keys required to enter. Local factions are vying for access to the fortress in order to seize the power they believe will be inside. Each of the faction's leaders have managed to get their hands on one of the keys, so you will need to defeat them.
You know what's inside? More systems!
You can see one of them inhabiting the city, but in order to fight him, you will first need to defeat their 2 lieutenants in the adjacent zones.
Just give me the game!
Be careful. If you fail against either of the lieutenants, or to kill the leader, they will move on, and you will need to find them again. Kill
Just
all
give
the Uber
me the
bosses and you will
game.
gain access to the fortress. We aren't going to spoil it, as we can't wait to see you guys attempt it for the first time. But is there a tree you get points in after killing it? Of course there is. This is Path of Exile. There is always another tree.
So these are your challenges for PoE2. As you can see, this project is crazy huge, way bigger than even we expected when we started out. But how do you gain access? Well, during early access you'll need a key to get in. To thank our existing PoE supporters who have spent more than $480, we'll be giving you guys a key for the PC version for free. Anyone else who wants one can get one by purchasing one of the new early access supporter packs that have just been released to the store. If you just want early access to PoE2, then you can get a key in the $30 early access pack. The pack also comes with $30 of points to spend in the MTX store. But we also have a variety of other supporter packs filled with exclusive microtransactions, points to spend in the store, and even physical items. The cosmetics can be used right now in PoE 1 and in Path of Exile 2 when early access starts. Most of this footage has been recorded in Path of Exile 1, since that's where you can use them immediately. The Lord of Ogham supporter pack contains a cosmetic armor set befitting of the Count of Ogham himself. There is also a matching back attachment which has an alternate variant depicting the influence of corruption. Also in this pack you can find a portal formed of the rusted armor of the fallen soldiers in the Red Vale of Ogham, and the offspring of a vicious crowbell boss found in the hunting grounds. This one doesn't look so vicious though. On top of that, you'll receive the Iron Count's Zweihander to apply to your one-handed or two-handed swords. For those who are wanting to decorate your hideouts with fond memories and tales of Path of Exile's history, you will also get a series of hideout statues. This pack contains the statue of Hillock. For Path of Exile 1's closed beta, each pack contained a true New Zealand icon, the Kiwi. Following this tradition, all packs in this series will also contain a new themed Kiwi pet. The pet will loyally follow you into battle, but run away at the first sign of trouble. Become the ruler of the desert with the King of the Farad'n supporter pack. Show your mastery of traversing the sands of the Vasteri Plains. The body armor will allow...
For those of you who haven't played Path of Exile 1, I wouldn't say that it's pay to win. You can definitely gain an advantage by having more bank slots, but you can complete all of the main game up to end game without needing to pay anything. And they're one of the few games and the few companies that I would feel completely justified giving money to based on the amount of hours I played the game for.
That can control and manipulate lightning. They will periodically release their energy in a powerful blast while in town, and hover in a circle around you, arcing lightning between them, forming a barrier of energy. Replace the appearance of any bow with the Farad'n's Glory skin, or replace the appearance of a spear with the Tyranny's End spear skin. This spear skin can be applied to staves and war staves in Path of Exile 1. If you want to truly show your worth as a King of the Farad'n, then you definitely need your trusty, moving, entire city fortress known as the Dreadnought to travel across the Vasteri Plains. In Path of Exile, you can decorate your hideout however you like, and it's no exception here. It comes with a variety of thematic elements to use, or use decorations from elsewhere in the game. Additionally, you will get the Deshret's Blessing level up effect, the King of the Farad'n Kiwi pet, and last but not least, a statue depicting the Vile Oversoul from Path of Exile 1. For those who don't know how supporter packs work, each pack comes with all of the cosmetics from the previous tier, so you'll get all the items from the Lord of Ogham supporter pack as well. The Thaumaturge of the Vile supporter pack features an armor set and back attachment themed around the Vile and their pursuit of science and progress. You can find the Soul Core weapon effect in this pack, which causes thaumaturgic energy harnessed from sacrifice to spill from your weapon. This pack also...
Do remember, if this is intimidating you, you don't need any of this. I've played for hundreds of hours, and I think I've spent 20 quid, if that, to get some bank expansions. But you didn't even need those. I was just lazy and didn't want to throw things away. So all of these cosmetics, all these overrides, they're not mechanical advantages. You won't need them. You can play this game for hundreds of hours. If it was genuinely pay to win, it would have died years ago. People get annoyed at me that I defend Path of Exile for the way that it monetizes itself, but I think it's the most fair way of doing it while still paying back the massive cost it took to make it.
points to spend in the store. Becoming a Warlord of the Karui supporter will grant you an armor set and back attachment adorned in jade carvings and iridescent feathers resembling power. Enough to even impress the ancestral gods, specifically Tukohama, the Karui god of war. Overkill, you say? I think the Karui people would disagree. Why not drop a gigantic totem on rare enemies you slay to crush them to a pulp? Replace your crafting bench in your hideout with the Ancestral Canoe crafting bench, where Ancestral Chief Mata will summon a giant canoe manned by Karui warriors to aid in your crafting desires.
We must all start somewhere.
You'll also get a pair of weapon skins. Equip Akoya's Felling Axe skin to your one-hand or two-handed axes, or Tukohama's Crusher to your one-handed or two-handed maces.
Consider it like this: if you don't need a bank expansion until you've played the game for 50 or 60 hours, how much would you have paid to get a 50 or 60 hour game?
With armor and harnessing ancestral magic, they make the perfect sidekick. Once one of the most feared beings in Rayclast, Malachi was slain by a powerful exile. May the statue commemorate the virtue of exiles past, present, and of the future. Of course, it's not all about dressing up in game. You'll want to look good in real life too. By becoming a Warlord of the Karui supporter, you'll also get a Path of Exile 2 hoodie.
I completely agree that to most people, a $480 early supporter pack is too much. Don't buy it. You don't need to. If you have that cash spare and you want to buy it, great, go for it. But you absolutely don't need it. I would say that a fair price for this game would at least be £40 to £60, which would probably be $50 to $70. If after playing it for 100 hours, you want an extra bank or you want some cosmetics, I think that's a fair amount of money to ask for the game that it's given you.
Just walk to the piers, click a boat to enter, and navigate as you choose.
Cosmetics, however, don't need them. Boat League!
Hideout. Everyone in your hideout can use their own boat. Why not have some races? You can also get the Window to Twilight portal effect, a beautiful mosaic piece of art that shatters and reveals a gateway to your desired destination as you approach it. As you walk away, the glass magically reforms back to its original form. Rule in style with the Throne of the Ruler map device. Sure, this map device can create portals to in-game maps, but it also comes with a throne you can sit on to oversee your growing kingdom. Look down on the plebeians running your maps. Being the Liberator, though, is not just about sitting on your throne all day. If you do decide to join the fight yourself, you can leave a High Priest in charge as your second in command. Liberator of Rayclass supporters will also get a set of varied weapon skins. The Light of Divinity Scepter skin, the Deliverance Crossbow skin, the Justice Flail skin, and the Redemption Shield skin. Once again, you'll have an accompanying Kiwi, and of course a statue depicting one of the most iconic events in Rayclast's history, the battle between a powerful exile and Kitava, the Insatiable. With the help of two deities, Sin and Innocence, the exile was able to defeat him once and for all. This supporter pack also contains the Path of Exile 2 art book. This 215-page full-colour art book includes a huge amount of amazing concept art and lore produced during the long and exciting journey of Path of Exile 2's development. And finally, Path of Exile has a tradition of letting the community participate in designing game features. For Path of Exile 2, we'll be adding the Twilight Order Foil Reliquary. By becoming a Liberator of Rayclass supporter, once Path of Exile 2 is released, you'll be able to select any unique item you have found and be able to drop it from the Reliquary. Once players have submitted their items, keys to the Reliquary will start dropping, and other players will be able to find foil versions of uniques that you have submitted along with a message for the lucky player. The more players submit the same unique, the more chances there will be for the Reliquary to drop them, so choose wisely. Now, almost all of these items are available to use in PoE 1 right now. There are a few exceptions where the item class clearly doesn't...
Foil uniques. I want one.
Also a few microtransactions on weapon types that are unavailable in PoE 2 at the start of early access. Once classes that use those weapon types are added, those microtransactions will be available to use. If you can't decide which supporter pack to choose yet, you can always start with the early access supporter pack that just includes a key and some points to spend in the store. Then you can upgrade to any of the following tiers at a later date. These supporter packs will be available for purchase throughout early access. We'd really like to thank you for your ongoing support. Without you guys, Path of Exile 2 could not have happened. Now, I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. Stick around, because coming up next, we have a live Q&A with Ziggy D.
Okay, so we're all in agreement that sounds pretty freaking awesome. It does. Like, that's a lot of game. The reason it's not released yet is because they had to stop them adding features.
To the post-show discussion and Q&A. I hope you all enjoyed what you've seen so far. It's been pretty exciting for us here as well, as you guys have been inspired already just watching things. And you're already cooking a new ascendancy class.
Yeah, for sure.
You've got to do design whenever you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's been a few fun moments here already. But I'm your host, Ziggy D, and I'm joined by Jonathan and Mark to talk about everything you've seen. Honestly, it's so much.
I mean, we were really keen to make sure that when we went into early access that people didn't feel like it was just, limping along and kind of, just like a minimal amount of content. We really wanted to kind of blow people away. So hopefully people feel like, there is enough content. Because, it was certainly a mission to get all that stuff in.
Yeah, I did come here expecting that there would be, maybe a basic mapping placeholder end game and your 3 acts and, the half the classes, but...
What a joke. As early access, they released almost the entire game.
Community in mind.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we have to make sure, look, Path of Exile's endgame is kind of known for the fact that you get to choose between different types of content and that, some people enjoy one thing, some people enjoy another. And I feel like that choice is a huge part of what makes it good. So if we didn't have that when we entered endgame, then I don't think that would be, that wouldn't be a Path of Exile endgame. So that's kind of what we have to make sure of. So we kind of said, okay, well, what is the minimum number of different endgame things you need?
There is a slight audio sync issue on the stream. That's not my Twitch stream. That is the stream itself.
That's how we ended up with what we have here.
I definitely feel like a lot of games nowadays release, and their campaign's intact and real good. You get to the end game and it just falls real flat.
Yeah.
And it was certainly a very important moment for us when we were like, hold on, that's the wrong thing to do. Let's not make the same mistake as everyone else. Let's pivot. And we actually did that, and it made a world of difference and made the game all of a sudden, 100 times bigger with an infinite amount more content, right?
It was definitely hard though, because it's like we're progressing. It's like we would have made it. We would have gotten, all these acts in if we hadn't have changed direction. It's like to actually say, you know what, we're going to specifically not finish this content that we'll be working on, that we it's like pens down everyone. We're stopping work on this. We're going to move over to endgame because it's actually more important. That was certainly a hard one.
That would have been some whiplash there, I imagine.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like suddenly the whole, environment art team, it's like, they're all just like, whatever you're working on, just scrap. You don't want to scrap, but, just stop it. we're doing something else now. So
saving clothes, yeah.
Especially for a lot of the developers, because you got to also think, a lot of our developers have just been working on this campaign for, what is it now, 6 years.
I think it's even longer, actually.
Yeah, it's just this epic journey, whereas none of them, a lot of these people haven't been working on Path of Exile 1 this whole time, so some of us are we're just churning out endgame with every league and doing all of that, but for a lot of these people, a lot of these developers, it was quite jarring to swap over, but everyone embraced it. We talked about it, everyone was happy about it and stoked about it, and it just ended up coming out real awesome. So
I think it's landed well, and it definitely kind of blew me away when so even before I saw anything, we were in the car on the drive here, and you were just info dumping all of the end game. You're like, oh, we got this feature, we got this feature. I'm getting dopamine just from hearing about it. I haven't even seen anything yet. But do you guys feel like you're competing against yourselves a little bit here? Because Path of Exile's kind of set the bar. The original game has set the bar for what is available to endgame in a game like this, and it makes it's not acceptable really to launch with just nothing in terms of endgame now.
Absolutely. I mean, I mean, if you're not competing with yourself, then I don't think you're going to make good progress, right? So that's what you really have to do.
Yeah, but cracking that out for beta even.
Is,
absolutely.
Pretty exciting. Well, as I said, I just think it would not have landed nearly as well without that. And I think it's important that our existing Path of Exile 1 community feels like they're also served. Sure, we're doing all this stuff for new players, and that's really important, and that'll expand the audience.
I'm going to go and have a look at the early access packs.
If we launched and all the PoE1 players are unhappy, that wouldn't be good. So, we have to make sure that they also feel like, they've got a game for both them and for all the new players we hope to bring.
This is a game that I want to exist.
You definitely want all those different axes as well. Just having 2, right? You'll get a lot of content can be immediately divisive, right? Obviously, that's the nature of it. That's how it goes, right? And so you have all of these different avenues because there are different players who like different types of content.
Yeah.
So if you're just like, here's your one end game system, well, immediately then there is a portion of players who are just like, I don't want this, right? And so having all of these options is like ultra key, and that is what Path of Exile 1 has taught us. And again, it's like, I'd say lessons learned, you know, for the genre, and it is expanding in other games and stuff. But yeah, certainly, as you said, competing with ourselves, yes, PoE1 has like, you know, 40 axes, you know, and we've got 7 really good ones here, and obviously more to come. But 7 is a lot, mind you.
Especially when it's all like, you know, like people have to learn a lot of things again. It's going to be very interesting to see how long it takes people to do the kind of difficulty 4 pinnacle content. It's like we have we have to. It's honestly like we actually don't even really know, because like you never know what people are going to find in terms of builds and so on. Like I'm hoping that it will take people a while to be able to work it out, but you know, you never know. Maybe end of day 1, people just be like, oh yeah, easy, no problem, mate. You know, could be what it's like.
We have a few people that are doing that sort of thing. I saw like a solo self found level 100 in 24 hours or something.
Jeez. Okay, we got this is where we've got it now, is it?
So, but I imagine there'll be a little bit of a soft reset there for people.
For sure.
A relearning period.
There's stuff to learn.
And I mean, PoE2 has changed a lot over the years, so more than 5 years of development now. And what was that initial pitch when PoE2 was first put forwards, like, as to what it's going to be? Because it was much smaller in scope originally.
Yeah, so when we started, it wasn't even a sequel. It was just, we're just updating the character rigs. And over time, it kind of feature creeped into a proper sequel. But the thing that we were saying is, whenever we were talking about it, and I guess this is the main thing, is that we're like, okay, when we make an area here...
Do you remember one thing they haven't mentioned yet is this has couch co-op and controller support.
Stuff like within the campaign that just feels like, oh, you know, we just took this area and modified it slightly. You know, each one's got to have its own stuff. It's got to have monsters that were like carefully thought about, that like, you know, fit in with the world, and it's got to have bosses that are actually like good tier quality. You know, and every area is going to have one. So those decisions have kind of been things that have meant that they really raised the quality bar to a level that took us way longer than we even really expected. Like those things there, just like it's huge, right? Like honestly, I feel like we underestimated significantly what it would take to deliver that level of quality.
I remember really early on, a battle I fought for, and I mean like way back, was like, if you think back to, say, Diablo 2, which obviously still holds a lot of, you know, power in terms of design motivations and philosophy and stuff within the company, you get things like the super uniques, and PoE1 did them, and it's just like, here's a boss with 1 or 2 skills. And I remember very, very, very early on in PoE2, I'm like, I want every single boss to be memorable and a thing. I don't want a unique monster that's just like dies in 2 seconds.
Some of you in the chat right now are extremely upset, screaming that Path of Exile and Path of Exile 2 are going to be pay to win. Pay to win exists on a scale, on a spectrum from really egregious to it's not pay to win at all. You can definitely gain an advantage by buying bank tabs, but I believe that where Path of Exile and Path of Exile 2 sit on that scale is acceptable for the amount of game that you get.
Turned into this megalithic.
What have you done?
Now we have 50, aiming to be 100. Honestly, probably later, several more 100 once all the end games, everything start to evolve and more expansions comes out. And I'm like, yep, we maybe just made 100 times more work for ourselves, but 100% bloody worthwhile.
No, hang on. Twitch chat. Josh keeps his national insurance card in his boomer phone case. No, I don't. That's my Costco executive membership card. Thank you very much. That might be more boomer, I just realized.
Fun, but it is true that me pushing for that thing literally created thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of work. Now, worthwhile work, but it is again that exact thing of like, the scope was kind of small on numerous axes, and as we just raised the quality bar to what we thought was good, it certainly went from, what was it initially? Just reskinning some character classes and new rigs or whatever into this like mega scale entire campaign. Everything.
Yeah.
But
full standalone separate game.
It's the kind of Costco
fun
vibes
other
we're bringing to
anecdotes
the
since we
stream.
went out of that territory. It was originally codenamed Project Chimera.
What? I don't.
It was this pipe dream.
I've never been a fan of the codename things
it
like
was
that.
It was this like there were times way back in the original Office. There was all this like. Sometimes there'll be a feature you can't really do in PoE1, and it was always like, we'll do it in Project Chimera. That was like amongst the developers, and people were like, what the heck is that? Now, ironically, there is a boss in Act 3 called, well, it's got a different name, but it's called the Chimera internally. It is a Chimera. It's a multi-headed beast. And you've seen it in a few of the marketing, things here and here, different trailers, little snippets of it. And I think it's just ironic that was actually the first boss asset made before everything, the first monster, because back in when we used to just make random monsters and we'll find out how to use them. And that was made for that game. It was used in the original PoE2 trailer, right? It is the only incomplete, technically, but only from a balance standpoint, or it was the last boss to finish in the entire Path of Exile campaign right now.
It sounds like there was like some sort of emotional demon that you had to battle there, of like the legacy of the original idea.
I think people that see this monetization as unfair have not played actually unfair monetization games.
Effectively, like, we need to celebrate this boss finally being done. It was like at the origin, and now it's at this, point where we're about to deploy early access. Not to say the end, because the end is forever away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still the beginning of a journey in many ways.
Yep.
But on that note of celebrating, like, how do you guys feel having now kind of, for the first time, I feel really like laid bare kind of everything you have. You're putting it out there, and only being 2 weeks away from everyone playing it.
Well, it's always scary, coming into a release, and I think especially for, there's like a bunch of people on the PoE2 team who have, they have, this is their first game that they're going to be releasing, and that experience is something that, it's tough. And honestly, I think that even we were feeling a little bit cocky actually about the fact, because we release content for PoE1 all the time, and I feel like we kind of felt like we knew what it took to get a game released, but honestly, like, PoE2 was just a whole entirely different demon as far as getting things out right. Like, it's just
what flex as a game dev that your first game is PoE2.
Like, the whole frickin' thing right from the ground up again. It's like, wow, there's way more stuff there, and like there's even things like the passive tree where it's like, I feel like we underestimated what it would take to get something like that to an actual releasable state. Like, that was a huge amount of work, just like absolutely colossal to get it to get that kind of stuff in shape. Like, it's just been crazy. Obviously it's nerve-wracking, coming up to a release day, but I think we do have something that players are going to really enjoy, and it's always comforting when we had a live event in LA recently. People, we got to the time limit and everyone's like, oh man, we don't want to stop. So like I think people are going to really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. It's been a whole different experience for me here playing this time around as well, whereas before I was playing a very buggy kind of internal version of the game that was very experimental. Now playing a...
Even if Path of Exile 2 was pay to win, which I don't believe it is, imagine the absolute strength when someone comes up to you and goes, oh yes, I spent several £1,000s and now I'm the best in the world at this system. And you can reply, I haven't even engaged with that system. I don't even know what that system is. I'm not even involved in that part of the end game. I've got no idea what you're even doing.
In there, so.
And you wouldn't even be lying. The game is that big.
It's good. So I'm sure there's a few things to work out over this next 2 weeks. I hope the team can have a little bit of a rest for a day before they get back into it. Maybe.
Yeah.
No, it's been a lot. So you've done that pivot to the end game focus and got so much for us now to play around with in the beta. And it seems like originally I was thinking, we might be playing for a few weeks here, and then. Maybe going back over to some Path of Exile 1 stuff, but it seems like you guys want us playing through Christmas.
That would certainly be good. Look, there's enough stuff there. I think it will take people a long time to get through.
Yep.
And obviously it's also going to be the first time people are playing through a completely fresh campaign as well. I think that will take people a fair amount of time.
I was planning on seeing my family over Christmas, but I might need to give my mum a call and tell her that, look, I love her, but this just has more skill trees.
Path of Exile 2 leagues, are going to be, like how PoE1 leagues are, where you play them for a reasonable amount of time, and then sure, you get done with them eventually, and then you've got the next content that comes out. So in order to be able to realize that, you have to have enough of a base to make that happen.
Yeah, people are definitely wondering how invested they can get in the beta. So I definitely want to ask a few questions kind of around that idea. Firstly, is there going to be wipes and resets, and will there be something before launch as well?
So we are going to be having new leagues effectively throughout the beta whenever we launch something significant, because we want to make sure that all of the effectively that people are able to play through. But that stuff will be merged into an early access league, and effectively after we go into full release, that league will stick around. Now, I can't promise that everything about your character will function exactly like how it did in that thing.
I imagine it'll be a glorious kind of snapshot of all of the... here's all the broken stuff I have. Yeah.
But effectively, we can contain all that stuff in the sort of early access league, and then if you still want to play those characters, then you can go right ahead and do that. But the action is always going to be in whatever the most recent league is, and then of course after that point there'll be a standard that everything goes into, which all our economic sins will forevermore be archived in the in standard. So that's no doubt what will happen.
Well, it's nice that it's not going to be affecting what will be the standard league.
Yeah.
Also,
that's the idea.
People will be able to kind of get invested in their characters. Because,
absolutely.
I mean, there's even something kind of cool about the idea of making.
Actually, if I dodge my family this year to play Path of Exile 2 over Christmas, I do gain points in the family dodging skill tree, which will allow me to dodge my family more easy. And next year, at various conventions, at various other events, if you put enough points into the family dodging skill tree, you don't even need to go to like Halloween or Thanksgiving. It's great.
A lot of the PoE1 players will be thinking very differently to people who are obviously going to experience this as a new game, but it is a new game, right? You don't have all these predefined, hyper-refined builds to play to immediately, go through things. You don't have people coming in with like fully detailed 7 million line build guides of exactly what to do with what items. The discovery.
If you want to think of the original base Path of Exile 2 character without paying anything as a demo, and then once you've played for several hundred hours, you spend some money to unlock the ability to have more storage, that's fine. It's the same way that WinRAR is a demo, and then you can pay to unlock the ability to do more with it, but you don't need to.
End game systems, the bosses, it's not going to be this, I personally, when a PoE1 league comes out, for example, I play for like a month, sometimes a bit longer, sometimes a bit less. It ultimately also depends largely what's going on here and how much I need to invest here. So, and there are other people who play for more like 3 and whatnot, but there's certainly going to be a much longer time period you can play this for while still discovering new stuff and not feel like you're finished, you know what I mean? Yeah. Now, of course, you see that's subjective. Everyone can pick their own point when they finish, but if you want to see everything and do everything, you're going to be investing a lot more time, especially these first-time rounds, and then obviously with every league, there's more to discover, but you get faster at doing all these parts over and over and over again. You'll get more efficient over time. That's how the game works. So, yeah, I'd expect a lot of time to be sunk into this to fully explore it to start with, like a lot, not a week, not 2 weeks. You're going to be going far, far longer than that if you want to see everything. But, it's up to you. Play at your own pace. See how you want to go. Learn at your own pace. That's the beauty of a new game as well.
Some people in the chat are confused about the price. The $30 is the early access pack. After that, it will transition to a free-to-play model the same way that Path of Exile 1 is.
And there's some familiar mechanics at the end game and stuff like that, which is awesome for people. But, I certainly want to I'm very excited to see people discovering the new things and getting so exciid about it.
I can tell you're amped for watching people go through that discovery process. I'm maybe even diving in yourself
100%.
I love sitting there in Path of Building, as many of us do, but I am very excited for that. That new discovery process for a while.
I think you were saying how much you were part spreadsheet. I think I was saying I'm like maybe 60% spreadsheet, 40% discovery, and that's my play archetype. So
coming up with our player profiles, Timmy spikes, and things like that for Path of Exile characters.
The discovery part of me is ultra excited, and I'll mind you, that's coming from someone who kind of knows all the content. I'm still, because there's something different about making it versus actually playing it live with the players, seeing them discover it, uniques being linked in chat and on Reddit and all of that is just so cool. So we're going to get a massive dose of that, and it is like genuinely exciting to just see how people are going to think, what's worth 1 chaos or what's worth 10 chaos, what's worth if chaos is even the metric.
Is chaos even the currency that people settle on?
We were arguing about this earlier.
I'm pretty sure that 1 C spam in chat might turn into 1 E, because 1 exalt, given that exalt is now...
I think it'll be chaos. People will still be...
People don't appreciate, by the way, so when we say we've increased up, you're going to be getting multiple exalts in Act 1. In PoE2, we actually have increased that a lot. It isn't just like an idle,
I can see exalts becoming the new kind of like chaos.
I think
chaos being the new divines.
I actually agree. But we'll see.
That's my point.
But it's a new economy, right? Who even knows? The market will have to.
But I like that we're already arguing about this. It's good fun. So, do you have some kind of like beta release roadmap for updates and things like that for people to look forward to?
I mean, we certainly did have one 6 months ago when we were, but now that we're now that we're sort of getting to release, it's like, oh my god, like we have to look at it. So, I mean, look, I don't think it'll be any less than 6 months, and I think it could easily end up being more. I certainly don't want to. I mean, look, 2025, I think. Really want to be full release in 2025. I don't really want to be spending more than a year. That would be pretty crazy. But I mean, honestly, like we have to get all the content finished and all that sort of stuff. We always feel like we underestimate these things, and of course we have to learn what we need to learn. We have to get the game to the point when it is really fun. We have to make sure that like all of the things like we've got the difficulty right for all the players, we've got the economy right, like all the stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're gonna have to sort out. And so I kind of have a feeling that the first few weeks at least are gonna just be scramble of like, oh crap, someone like worked this crazy thing out and we found this thing, and like that's always scary, because it's just when we add content to PoE1, it's like at least the kind of base of stuff that we have is kind of well tested and people know kind of what's going on with it. But here it's like just complete new world, and we're the kind of game that has a lot of ability for players to do stuff that we wouldn't anticipate. We have just the way support gems work and everything like that. So there's certainly a lot of worry that like there's just going to be builds that are like completely ridiculous that we just never anticipated, combining certain things in different ways we don't expect. With hundreds of support gems, it can be like that. So that's going to be an interesting one.
It will happen.
Yeah, for sure.
It is inevitable, right? Like there's nothing we can even do about it because you need hundreds and thousands of hours of testing to be able to do that with what can only be done with hundreds of thousands of players. But that's also the magic of it all, which is awesome.
That's why I was asking you, like, are you literally really doing 12 classes and 36 synergies, like actually?
Yeah, that's absolutely. We have we know what we want to do.
It's a bit unhinged.
It is a bit, but we like a challenge. I mean, a studio that produces a passive skill tree like we do clearly has a bit of a glutton for punishment.
Remember, there are 6 more classes they haven't revealed yet.
Later in an expansion or something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could have. I mean,
there's an interesting argument going on in the chat currently about whether the value provided by the game is worth the things that are locked behind needing to be purchased, such as bank slots or extra storage areas or things like that, or the cosmetics or things like that. I believe that Grinding Gear Games has been one of the most direct and the most honest gaming companies making a game. They've told you what they're going to give you, they've told you what they can provide, they've told you what you can buy, and there is a huge amount of audience trust there. Now, not everyone trusts them. That's absolutely fine. I personally do. I think that if they wanted to make a lowball money, they could have used underhanded tactics for the last couple of years. But had they have done that, we would not be sat here now looking at Path of Exile 2. If they had been as unscrupulous as people accuse them of being, this wouldn't exist.
For so long, you're going to have very, very, very slow reaction times to fixing, or adding certain content where they maybe the issue is like, the campaign needs more of this, or this class needs more of this, or something. So if you're planning, then you're going to be delivering on what they want solved like a year down the line or even longer. Right, and where we like to remain very, very dynamic and like, you want to be able to fix that stuff like, oh, well, this is the main problem. Like, sure, obviously you need more than a week sometimes, most of the time. But we want it generally to be that the next...
It is undeniable that there are a lot of people who just want to complain about something not being perfect. If you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. If you don't want to do that, you can join me and play Path of Exile 2 when it comes out, and we'll probably have a fun time together.
Because that is very, very important. Otherwise, you're never going to seem like you're doing what people want. And what are you doing if not that?
So that actually is a good point. Like, I was going to ask, what do you folks, what does the team want out of the beta? Because obviously it's like a good way to market the game, but it's also, key to shaping the game in the future. Like, an actual beta. It's not just early access.
I think one of the most important things, I think it's going to be really good for the development team to get back into a live mindset and like get it back into the idea of like, okay, everything we make is shipping.
People are seeing this.
Like get back into this, people are seeing, like actually getting back into that and like, and being able to sort of see directly, like, okay, we make something, it goes in the game, people like it, don't like it, like that kind of stuff. Like, and that really, like, that has been our studio for like most of its lifetime. Obviously, before we released PoE1, it wasn't, but after that point, I mean, we are a company, that likes to think that we can do live service better than anyone else. Like, that is our goal. And so, like, getting back into that again, you know, for everyone in the studio, so that everyone's working on things that are going to be releasing within, you know, certainly in less time than 3 months away. Is going to think be really, really good for us again. I look forward to just being able to do that, because these long term, like really long term things, like that span over years. It's like you go so long without proper feedback, like stuff kind of gets made, and then like it's not really in a real game, and so it doesn't get
probably
tested
lose
properly.
perspective,
and you absolutely lose perspective on this stuff. So I think that that's just going to be a really great to get back to that again.
Yeah, I honestly, as you said, it is early access, it is a beta period, and I'd say, you know, personally speaking, the thing that, and we mentioned it briefly about the character balance and the builds that are broken and all that, that's obviously pretty useful to me, right?
Yep.
Plus, we have other systems in there, like, you know, the checkpointing system, right? You have to kill the boss in one life. You know, these are things we haven't mass tested, and obviously other games have, and they work, and that's awesome. There are other things like, you know, the end game system is a little bit less forgiving in that if you die, you fail the map, right? These things are things that we obviously need to test and iterate on in the future by adjusting the difficulty and stuff like that. And you, especially as you get towards this point of, you know, the end game, like, okay, Act 1 has been tested like crazy.
Yep.
Right? And you get less and less testing as it goes on, because you get less people, you know, they've just been around for less time. And so, yeah, it's going to be a huge amount of iteration and feedback, and from the players and us just, you know, reevaluating all the stuff. And the thing is, we're always dynamic about that stuff. Like, we'll just change things if it's wrong. We'll redesign it. We'll come up with a new way. Jonathan's a firm believer of if A doesn't work and B doesn't work, then we'll find C, we'll find option C, we'll find option D, and we'll keep changing things and we'll make it work. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of that iteration on our design decisions, how forgiving, because, like, the game is pretty hard. You know, it can be pretty hard. And so when you're on that fine line of, like, you know, things are difficult, you know, it's not too easy to know if you've tilted one way or the other. So, you know, finding what everyone agrees should be the common corrected difficulty is something that I will obviously be paying very, very, very close attention to.
It's a pretty hard thing to nail down when you are making the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've seen that a lot, where you folks have been pretty willing to change and then rechange and rechange again some of the core features like flasks and the waypointing system and portals. And you're keeping that kind of mindset going into the beta then?
Of course. I mean, look, we're always willing to change stuff. Like that flask thing, like the most recent change to that was like ultra recent. Like, have we even had like a closed beta of that yet? Was it? No, I think we haven't. Yeah, but I mean, I think it's way better than it was. Like, it's the things have improved a lot. And honestly, like that's one of those things we've been wanting to do, something to sort out flasks for ages.
Yep.
And it really came about because when actually looking at what new players were having trouble with when they were playing, Flask Piano was actually, like, even from the very beginning of the game, actually ended up being one of those things that, like, people just had trouble with, just like just the manual dexterity required to, like, hit all your different flask keys, and then you have to know when one of your flasks has run out so you can move to the next one, and like various things like that. Like all that stuff actually was like just a weirdly large amount of mechanical complexity right from the very beginning. And then even at in game, I don't think it was really that satisfying either, because you ended up with like, you know, just like having to press all these buttons all the time, and obviously it's all utility flasks that people are using at in game. And then we kind of tried to band-aid this in PoE1 with the you know, some of the flask automation stuff that was added there, but there was still this idea that that you're still more powerful if you don't automate. So therefore, you know, like it's like, you know, it's like there's that trade-off there. So
you're just more powerful if you get mage blood. Really,
sure. I guess. Sure.
And then it's all automated, and you're very powerful.
Yeah, sure, all right. But you know, so the point is, effectively, that the charm stuff that we're doing effectively means that you no longer, the game is making that decision of like, you know, that stuff will be automated. You no longer have to do that like crazy flask piano to get the best, you know, the best out of your character. And I think that is definitely a step in the right direction. And the other thing as well is it actually makes the crafting more meaningful, I think, on the flasks, because when you've got like 5 slots, then like the individual mods and the individual stuff like seems to tend to not matter as much. I mean, obviously, you know, people want instant recovery and things like that, but you know, like but like now it's like the actual, it's much more meaningful. Like on your life flask, the choice between do I want instant or do I want way more like life, like that kind of stuff actually can be a lot more meaningful once you've only got one. So yeah, I think it is a lot better personally.
You have we'll jump ahead to flasks since we're on the topic. You have locked in effectively the fact that there's a mana flask there now, so there's always going to be a mana flask slot. And how does that tie into your design for mana? And are we always going to be using mana flask slot, or if we solve another way, what does it do?
You can absolutely solve another way, and then you'll just have a flask slot that isn't doing anything for sure. But I think it kind of has to work that way because we really don't want. Because like once you sort of start to get into changing that around, I feel like the system sort of starts to break with regard to like the feeling.
I don't want to mute these guys often because what they're saying is fantastic, but everything in chat doesn't need to be addressed. Ultimately, video games are a hobby. They are your hobby, and they are fun, and they are enjoyable. All hobbies ask a small amount of financial investment from you. Sometimes they ask a large amount of financial investment from you. I can't talk. I play Magic the Gathering and Warhammer. I have 2 expensive hobbies. I believe the value proposition that Path of Exile 1 has given me over the years is worthwhile. I have the expendable income to be able to enjoy Path of Exile 1 to a degree that I think is fun. Thankfully, that amount is remarkably low compared to a lot of other hobbies. I believe Path of Exile 2 will give a value proposition that allows you to enjoy it for a remarkably low cost. Ultimately free unless you want to do more complicated stuff. The more complicated stuff you want to do, the more money it may ask of you, or the more money that would be an advantage to you. It's a value proposition. These are your hobbies. If you enjoy them, spend money on them. If you don't enjoy them, don't. The amount of money they're asking you to spend, I think, is remarkably fair for the amount of value they're giving you if this is your hobby.
No one is happy about giving accuracy, but no one has a better idea than what accuracy that it can give. And like everyone's going to come up with like in chat a bit. I bet they'll be like saying, "Oh, it can give this or this, whatever." But there's like, seriously, there's been endless arguments about that topic. It's like it's outrageous.
Yeah. You've got me thinking about it now.
Yeah.
I mean, speed would be good, but then it's probably too much.
Something like Dex, you just can't.
Dex stacking speed.
We can get all the designers down here right now.
Yeah, I know. But we'll just have it out again. We'll just have it out again.
The longest Q&A of all time.
Yeah.
It's already going to be that.
Sometimes you're just like, you start the day, and you're like, all right, here are the problems we need to solve, and then you're like,
what about?
But then accuracy on Dex comes up again.
No, it's 3 p.m. and we're still discussing dexterity.
Yeah.
Oh, for anyone unsure, yes, they have confirmed that microtransactions to purchase stash tabs will apply to both Path of Exile 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Rewinding a little bit, we can't forget our roots with Path of Exile 1, of course. So for the PoE 1 enjoyers, what is the plan for PoE 1 during the course of this beta? Is there going to be leagues launching? Is it on the back burner?
Yeah, there absolutely will be leagues launching. Now, I don't know the exact date, but the plan is kind of late February.
Yep.
But I mean, look, we'll see what happens. I will admit that unfortunately we did have to steal a few PoE 1 resources just towards the end here, which is kind of been a bit unfortunate. I really wish we didn't have to.
And you know what? I like Path of Exile. And for everyone in the chat that tells me it's a bad game, I'm going to buy even more stash tabs.
For the February league, and we're going to make sure that we can do that. Like one of the things that was a big problem for our studio when we had a long-term project and a short-term project.
I'm going to buy them and not even use them.
You've always had that thing of like you always want to work on the short-term thing.
Yeah.
So now that we've got 2 short-term things coming up, I actually think it's going to be a bit easier to prioritize in some respects because
funnily enough,
it's like it's just like it's all that stuff is then is like coming up soon. So but we'll see how it goes. But we need to get that PoE 1 expansion out next.
Yeah, obviously, I just want to always make it clear that, the reason why things can't be so planned out is, again, we're just releasing this game.
Yep.
Obviously, we pivoted to in-game, and then that needed more resources. And then, of course, combined with the fact that, things obviously change. There are unpredictable things in the environment we can't necessarily guarantee. And then, of course, you have, Christmas coming up and all of that, right? There's so many variables to consider, but we also don't know how much time is going to be invested necessarily or need to be invested into live operations for post-release. How many problems are going to go wrong? How many builds how many of the uniques are broken? How many, and where do all these resources go? There are like just millions of variables.
I don't think they have enough endgame for release, to be honest. I think people are going to blitz through this in about a week.
You have a bit of a grace period, so to speak, where more like a period of extreme amounts of fire, where we're putting out fires everywhere. But we have a period where we're fixing everything. You get everything stable, and then we're going to be like, all right, let's recalibrate, figure everything out.
If they keep putting out fires, fixing and recalibrating, they actually gain points in the putting out fires skill tree, the fixing skill tree, and the recalibrating skill tree, which are 3 different skill trees which each have their own currency and each have their own end boss as well.
from a player perspective, but there's always going to be like, oh my god, people found this, and we
don't have to see all the fires.
Like ideally, the best thing is when we're able to fix some kind of exploit before people even hear about it. Yeah. And when I say exploit, I'm just talking about some broken thing. Like if we we obviously normally have to worry about like the whole mid-league nerf concept, but it's like if you can deal with something within like an hour or two of it happening, then it's like you're kind of okay because no one had a chance to kind of like everyone didn't swap their build over to it or whatever.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to be really on the ball for PoE2 just because there's so many things that are new.
Well, I mean, look, we have several bosses with several elevators. How many of them can be pushed up the elevator? You know what I mean? Well, that's what I mean. When I say fire, I'm talking about bosses getting pushed up elevators. Like, that's not okay.
I am liking my mercenary flashbang knockbaang is very fun.
Right. Yeah, you need to look into that, by the way. The whole flashbang.
I feel like you're going to nerf my build.
Yeah.
Is this when he's finding fires already?
Yeah.
No, these are the fun things. Discovering that stuff can be very fun for the players. It's just internally, it's like, oh no, what are we doing? It can get a little bit panicky after release, and it there's lots of things going on. You're like, oh geez, what do I solve first? But obviously, it's the same as PoE1.
Some people in this chat right now are very much powering through the complaining skill tree, which is worrying me because they're getting a lot of points and eventually they will unlock the can I talk to the manager skill.
Yeah, the plan is to keep them separated a bit from each other so that you get a chance to play.
Don't
with
make me
both
choose.
Yeah.
So we saw a cinematic, to put it lightly. It was that was quite epic, and I know has been cooking for quite some time, and that was pretty exciting. But we've also seen just a lot of story stuff happening on a much higher level than previously now. So stepping up your storytelling game here a bit.
Yeah, so we're really wanting to make sure that the storytelling in PoE2 is much better than what it was in PoE1. There's a lot more kind of, that kind of like stuff with the introductions to boss fights and the outros and things like that. Like all that stuff, we've just got a lot more storytelling going in. All of those things. We do have the intro cutscene. There's also kind of like light, like between the acts. There's these kind of like more kind of motion graphic type cutscenes, just kind of establish things. And there might be some more surprises later on in the game as well. Not in early access, unfortunately. Later on that we can that you can see as well. But ultimately, we just want to make sure that I think a lot of people who got through the PoE1 story had no idea what was happening by the end. Effectively, we want to make sure that is not the case this time around, that people really are able to absorb things. But
guilty.
One thing I will...
A good way of looking at microtransactions is, how do you feel that transaction went after you have given the company your money? Have you ever been in a position where you have given a company your money and you felt that you have got an exceptionally good amount of quality and quantity out of that? I've felt that in a couple of times. When I've given my money to Factorio, I feel that I've got one hell of an amount of content back from it. When I gave my money to Portal, I felt that I got a hell of a lot back from it. When I gave my money to The Witcher 3, I felt I got a hell of a lot back from it. Every time I have given money to Grinding Gear Games, I feel that I have got more out of that transaction than they have. And that is why I think that I consider this a fair transaction, a fair trade for the amount of game, for the amount of cash. I have never given Grinding Gear Games money and felt that I haven't been given a worthwhile product afterwards.
You're taking seriously, that you're understanding that there's like all those sort of touch points and little things just all through, while also maintaining the fact that if you know what you're doing, it's like you don't have to go talk to some quest giver just to get a quest. Like you can just go do the thing, without having to talk to someone about it first. That kind of stuff is really important, just to make that stuff work well when you know what you're doing.
Yeah, you said something this morning that stuck with me, where you said like Path of Exile is a game where the player's meta knowledge is allowed and encouraged.
Absolutely. So
you're allowed to cheat. There's quests.
Effectively, there's what the character knows and there's what the player knows, and in our game, what the player knows needs to be sufficient as far as like being able to progress the storyline. If you don't want to have it so you just talk to an NPC just to find out something you already knew as a player.
If you kill this boss, you get the next area's waypoint, so you just like kill it, log out, log in, waypoint, right?
I love doing that.
Meta knowledge.
Yeah. So you explained to me the other day the kind of the context for the beast and how that leads into the cutscene in the beginning of PoE2 from PoE1, and that I think helped put it in a lot more perspective for me and made me appreciate and understand what's going on with the story.
So
here
effectively, what you're seeing in the opening cutscene is effectively the a new seed of a beast that is going to be is growing. Now in PoE1, the beast was killed. And then what happened in response to that is a bunch of all the gods in the world were able to were able to effectively rise again. And you killed a bunch of them, but there are more, in the world. And effectively, we don't want to spoil too much about the storyline overall,
course.
but effectively, obviously someone here, the Count is wanting to harness the power of the beast once again. And then we have the mysterious figure there who is saying, no, don't do this. This always turns out badly.
There was a comment in chat that I loved that was like, stop opening Eldritch boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do people keep doing this?
Yeah.
I would.
If someone handed you a mysterious orb, wouldn't you press the button?
I mean,
there's a puzzle box.
Exactly.
What's inside?
Exactly.
Yes. I mean, I'm going to try, but who knows how many hours it's going to take me.
Indeed.
Life is a complicated, stressful thing, and we all have different things to worry about, different things we hope will or won't happen. Ultimately, video games are a fun hobby. If you enjoy them, then give them what time and money you can, and give them the amount of time and money that you think is a worthwhile value trade to you. But ultimately, life is short, and it's not worth stressing or being angry over something in a video game, when there are so many video games and so many other hobbies to go and do. Path of Exile and grinding gear games have never made me angry with any of the choices they've made. I've disagreed with them, but they've never made me angry. If you are stressed or annoyed or angry at the design of a video game, you can step away and do something else that makes you happy. This makes me happy. I think a lot of people get a lot of happiness from Path of Exile 1 and will from Path of Exile 2. If that's not you, that's okay. It doesn't need to appeal to everyone. But I genuinely believe that this game will make more people happy than it makes angry. And if it is making you angry, there are thousands of other games that will be tailored to you. Personally, I'm very excited for this to come out.
Way.
I'm in too deep now.
Yeah, exactly. We're just gonna do it. So there's a lot of thinking like that goes into these things. Like, what is the history of these people? Like, because I think a lot of that stuff inspires interesting mechanics as well. So, for example, on that one, you've got that into the breach skill, which kind of means you're always in a breach all the time. You can see the things going on. Like that stuff is. I think that there's a lot of cool inspiration there. So coming up with that storyline stuff. For that stuff,
there's a couple other little things that I think is cool as well, and hopefully people will notice and pay attention to. So there's one of the bosses that was shown as uses a lot of time or chronomancy, and interestingly, if you are a sorceress and you ascend to chronomancer and you then go to fight that boss, if you, for example, try to use time freeze. The boss is like, that doesn't work on me. And has a dialogue line. And if you cast temporal chains on them, he's like, just puts it back on you. And it's like, And so there's interesting things like that. And it doesn't like change things on a grand scale, right? It doesn't make a certain class not viable or anything like that. But there's just interesting little quirks and quips everywhere. Different bosses have different intro lines depending on what class you're playing. They have different skill lines sometimes depending on what class you're playing.
We've got different dialogue all through the campaign for different classes. Like the sorceress is obviously from the Maraketh. When she goes back to the Maraketh, there's kind of a little backstory there about how she was banished originally. So she needs to find a way to she needs to be accepted back into their culture again. Like we've got things like the character we talked about earlier. So the warrior was an orphan. He was brought up by actually one of the NPCs in Act 1 town. So obviously there's a whole different dialogue there because he's effectively his adopted son. We've got things like that. There's a lot of thought that's gone into, just trying to make it feel like all these character classes have some level of involvement with the world, they didn't just come into existence the moment that you...
There's other little things. So like more on the narrative side, obviously we saw the world map. You have the icons that show different things that are in each act, like all the things you want to explore, find, and awesome. But each of them also has a little bit of a little bit of text on them as well. And like, for example, the There's one in one of the first areas in the game that's just like a camp of Iron Count guards, and you know, we showed it in a trailer when the Ranger class trailer we did.
I need to go and have dinner, but one of my friends is streaming, and I think she will have better input on this than I will. If any of you are fans of Luality, the incredibly skilled Baldur's Gate 3 streamer who has previously completed Dark Souls on a dance mat, I think we should pop over and say hi, because Luality is a lovely person. I'll set a raid up.
Or something like that. So you get these little things where we're like connecting a lot of little dots, and even that you absorb a little bit of interesting little information. You've got other things, for example, when you enter an area, it not only says the name at the top now, it has almost a subtitle text that's giving you a little bit of history. And these little things like somehow make the world building feel so much better. And when you
if you've never met Luality, she is an absolute sweetheart. She is an incredibly skilled gamer. I was lucky enough to meet her and hang out with her a couple of years ago at a Baldur's Gate 3 event. She is an incredibly talented gamer, and she will be the absolute best person to continue giving you beautiful amounts of information on Path of Exile 1 and 2. Thank you for joining me, guys. Let's go and say hi to Luality.
We certainly never did before. We didn't even think of before. But yeah, it's
I like
it's
that
awesome.
a lot, because like as an action RPG gamer, I don't really care too much about plot, but I do want a really cool world to be blowing monsters up in. But
Like
the things happening around me that like build out a bit of that story without me having to stop killing stuff. And it sounds like there's more of that going on as well, which is great.
There's
the baddies being cool. I mean, that's how we almost designed an ascendancy class in here just before when we were watching it.
Have a good day, guys. Take care of yourself. Good night, and God bless.